Hello and welcome back to another episode of Podcast 572. As always, I'm your host Kyle, joined by my two friends Dan and Matt. I don't know about you, but for me, I've ventured back into Baldur's Gate 3.
Ooh,
and I'm
surprised that you have.
And I'm having a great time with it.
There you go.
I don't know. Like I said, I think I talked about it a couple weeks ago when it was on the Steam summer sale. I picked it up. I was like, I think it would be a better PC experience because of keyboard and mouse. And like, for me at least, and that might not be the case for everybody. For me at least, it is a better PC experience. I did do like, because if you have a console copy of the game, or if you have a PC copy, whatever, I think even PlayStation, Xbox can do this if you for some reason had it on both systems, but you can carry your save over. It is crossing.
That's good.
So I did do that. The downfall of it is it doesn't unlock achievements or trophies or whatever if you've already unlocked them on another platform. So I did it once just to see. It works flawlessly. Like you sign up, you like set up a Larian account, and then it saves like through their version of a cloud or whatever, but like it worked flawlessly. So it doesn't do that. So because I was kind of hoping, I'm like, oh, if I can go back and forth, it'll unlock achievements on both for my run. That'd be kind of cool. No. So I'm just going to stick with PC for now. But I'm having a much better time with it. And part of it is just taking my time because I don't know anything about D&D. So like taking it slow. I am kind of stuck at a boss battle right now. So this is the first. I will say though, I put 10, 12 hours into it now. This is the first battle this time around that I've actually like got stuck on. Okay, that is a little bit more challenging than it seems like a case where I may have to leave and go do some other battles and come back.
Yeah, that's not surprising. That's how games like that are always kind of built. Yeah. Anyway.
But I've learned a lot more. I've at least learned a lot more about the concepts. Again, the fantastic part of this is the story. Like, I didn't even know that the dude that everybody likes. Again, is it Asterion?
Asterion.
Okay, I didn't know he was a vampire.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
Like I didn't know anything. Like I literally didn't watch a single thing about this game. I just saw people talk about it. Obviously, I remember when it came out in early access, and I was like, it seems like way too much money to pay for an early access game at the time. And then it hit, and obviously was like game of the year everywhere last year. But I didn't really watch any of the story stuff or watch other people play it or anything like. So I know virtually nothing about the story of this game. So I just remember reading like, oh, everybody loves the white hair dude. So
yeah,
and I will say like all of the voice acting across the entire game is tremendous, but that guy in particular is like a notch above everybody else. So
from everything I've watched of like people playing it and stuff, like it's clear that
dude put
he won that award, right?
Yeah, he rightfully won. Yeah, like he definitely puts in quite a performance, at least just a little bit that I've played of it. The other thing, and I'm sure it'll like if I do another, I don't know. By the time I'm finished with it, I don't think I would immediately jump in and do another run, but it does kind of remind me in terms of the choices and stuff that you can make in the story, like a Mass Effect or one of those types of games, but it seems like it's more complex. Like there's like it could drastically change the story much more. Whereas like in Mass Effect, it was kind of like, well, you can pick point A or point B and the story will go that way. This seems like it kind of branches off into a bunch of other things. There's things that you can do that like what do you know of the story?
I know quite a bit.
You know quite a bit.
I've watched a lot of people.
So you have the thing that's like lodged in your head that okay. Like you get to a point where you meet up with this witch and you can totally try and have this witch try and take that thing out of your head if you want. I don't know what that would do for the story. because I was like, no, I'm not going to do that. So I passed on doing that. But yeah, it just seems like everything I've done. There's another part, I guess, maybe minor spoiler, but like what you find out pretty early on that dude's a vampire, and then it's kind of like, well, you can keep him in your party, you can kick him out. I don't know anybody that would kick him out. That seems wild to me. But after, like, a little bit later, as you're kind of adventuring, you've adventured with these people for a while in the game, you come across a vampire hunter that's looking for him, but has no idea what he looks like. Because he's with you in your party, so he's just kind of like, yeah, I've been sent out here to look for this vampire, Asterion. And you kind of just have to, you can either play dumb with him, or what I did was, like, at first I played dumb, whatever, we walk away, I have a little conversation with that guy, and he's like, well, I don't know if I want to be on the run forever. I'm like, okay, fuck it. I go back to the guy, and I'm just like, here he is. And it basically just starts a battle so you can kill that guy.
Right.
And then he's not on your tail. And that's what I did in my game. So I'm curious to see, like, if you don't kill that guy, does he keep following you throughout the game? Like, I don't know. So it just seems like there's a lot more branching paths in this game than anything I've played before.
Well, because those branching paths can actually lead to different endings. Mass Effect, while it seems like you have choices, it all leads to the same endpoint.
Gotcha.
And, and by the time Mass Effect 3 ended, it led to the literal exact endpoint where you picked one of 3 endings at the very end. So it was kind of a letdown. Yeah. But, yeah, this game, did you read that article about the Baldur's Gate 3 thing that came out, like, this week, where people were seeing how far they could try to break the game to see if the game could compensate for what you did?
No, I saw something about
there's like
a patch or something.
There's like a story marker in the game where, I don't know if this is much of a spoiler or whatever, but you need to have these 3 gems at a certain point.
Okay.
So there was a guy out there who basically tried to find a way to lose them permanently to see if he could, like, break the game and end it.
Yeah.
And they have contingencies built in for almost every possible thing. So, like, if you throw them into this place that you can never come back from again, right?
Yeah.
Well, then the game decides, oh, well, these monsters found them, and then you could fight these monsters on the beach and they get them back.
Oh,
but
wow.
if you already killed those monsters, then what?
Yeah.
Well, this old fisherman catches a fish, and inside the fish are the 3 gems. Okay, so what if you had already killed the fisherman? Okay, well, then the fish just washes up dead on the shore, and you can find the gem. So, like, it always finds a way to put the gems back in play where you can get them. Except for there's one specific case the guy found where he went into an area that was, like, one time only and just, like, dropped them and then left and the area went away, and there wasn't a way to compensate for that. So that actually gives you, like, a game over.
Interesting. Wow. Okay.
But it's crazy to think about how many levels deep they thought about.
I mean,
how can
my understanding, they spent, like, what, 7 or 8 years making this?
Yeah.
It was a long time. So,
yeah.
Whereas, like, I understand why, as a development team, hey, we're not going to just make Baldur's Gate 4. They want to go do something else. And that's fine.
You don't have to. Yeah.
You don't have to. People are going to play this for years. So,
right. That's the point.
Like, yeah.
And they're still working on a new another patch for it right now where they're changing some stuff on it.
They just had a patch come out, I think, this past week that changes some stuff, and then they're working on another one, as far as I know. So
yeah, they're going to keep working on this for a while. So,
but it's like I said. I mean, again, part of it too is, like, at the time that I tried to play it back in December, I was not in the mindset for that type of game. So it was the kind of thing where I'm like, yeah, I love rolling the dice now. That's all I live for in the game. It's rolling the dice. But yeah, at the time I just was like, I don't even understand what's going on here. I didn't feel like sitting down and learning anything. Whereas, like, now we're in the dead of summer. What else is really kicking right now when it comes to games? So it was a good time to look at it. So other than that, which that's pretty much, I've devoted most of my time to that. There's a couple things. I didn't even put everything on here. The other day, maybe not Thursday, Wednesday, I think, I loaded up Steam, and for whatever reason, like, Steam will have, obviously, games are on sale every week, but they also will have, like, a game of the day that's on sale. The game of the day that was on sale for $6 on Wednesday was that Scars Above game, which I don't know if you ever heard of it. I make fun of it. It just looks like budget Returnal. That's the best way I can describe how it looks, right? But I was like, $6. I'm like, you know what? Whatever. I think I own it. I think I bought it on an Xbox or something at one point, like a physical copy, super cheap. But I was like, $6. I'll try it out. I installed that. It actually is not bad. So it is very much, at times, I could tell you it's like a budget Returnal, but it has more of a story than Returnal does, if that makes sense. Like Returnal kind of gives you a story as you go along through the different loops. Like one loop you might find like something that looks like your house that you lived in that game.
That.
Okay, in this game, like no, it's straight up a story. Like when you start the game, you're on a ship, you're putting this weapon together, and all of a sudden some shit happens. Now you're on this planet. That part of it, whatever, it's a story, it's fine. Graphically, like, and I mean, I have a 4070, like I have a pretty decent computer, but like effects wise, there's some stuff that they definitely cut back. Like the water in this game looks terrible. Like, and I have it on ultra settings, so I'm not sure what's going on with that, but it doesn't seem bad. Like for $6, I can't complain. So it was definitely worth checking out. I did install and did play a little bit of the beginning of East 9 to try and get back into it. Unfortunately, Baldur's Gate 3 is kind of train wrecked that for now.
Yeah.
So I'm going to continue Baldur's Gate 3 and then probably play East 9. I still got time. October 25th, little time away before East 10, and I doubt I'll even jump right into it day one, but
probably not.
I will buy it day one. So because I don't know if you saw that there's like it's not a collector's edition, but those games they always do like a
day
package, that has a bunch of cool shit for no extra, cost. And this game I believe it's $60 too, because I just reserved it the other day. So, and then Matt and I for whatever reason, when I was looking on the Steam sale, I told him, I'm like, why don't you buy this Ghost Exorcism game and we'll try playing it because it's a co-op game, right? Okay. So we tried that out the other night, and pretty freaky game. Yeah, it reminds me of that Phantasma, whatever. What was that game that came out a couple of years ago? You know what I'm talking about?
The game that was like the hit one.
Phasmophobia. The one that was a hit for a while, and I think now it's coming out.
Finally coming to console way too late.
Okay. Yeah. It's kind of like that, but maybe more of a poor man's version is what I would say. But it's still pretty creepy as hell. Like we got into it, then we figured out we first went to try and do a mission, and then figured out like we should probably play this solo tutorial first because we don't know what the fuck's going on. But like,
yeah, it was bad.
We did the first mission where you go into this house, all the lights are off. First thing Matt tells me, he's like, I think there's like a person sitting on this couch. I'm like, all right, let's see what's going on. And I run up to it. Now it's a doll, and that doll just fucks with you. Moves its head. It's like a slappy doll. He'll fuck with you and then disappear and then go into different rooms. You might like all of a sudden you might go into the kid's bedroom. Oh, hey, he's hanging out here. The closer you get to him, he'll just start fucking with you, throw you on the ground. Yeah, it's pretty fucked up. There's obviously ghosts and stuff. You have to take so you have all the different equipment and stuff. Like you can take pictures of the stuff that's going on. The problem I have with the game, and I think you had the same problem, Matt, is it is too complicated to perform an exorcism in this game. You have to figure out what type of entity it is first in this notebook. And then once you find out what type of entity, there's like 3 things you'll have to do that are specific to the type of entity. And then you get to read this little passage from the good book or whatever that you actually read with your microphone.
Oh, yeah.
Which is cool, but like, do you want to do that every time? I don't. So, because it gets old really fast.
How long is the passage?
It's like 4 or 5 phrases.
Yeah, it's not very long.
It should be like 1 or 2.
It should be like 1 or 2. Like banish thee. That's all it should be.
Yeah.
But it is creepy. So like we did definitely have fun with it, but it reminds me of that Phasmophobia. I think that's a better game if I had to choose it too, because I don't think that one is as complicated. But some of the stuff is pretty creepy in that game. So
yeah, man.
The doll, the ghost that you and I kept encountering where it kept chasing us and then knocking us over. It killed him.
Like a half, and I think that actually was a glitch.
Okay.
Because in the tutorial, when you pass out, you wake up in the other room.
Okay.
Like I never woke up, but I was still with you, which was really weird.
He was an orb.
Out. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And I was
just a fun orb
him around. Yeah, it was fucking weird. But I mean, I definitely told him that I think we should play it again after we read and watch more about it, because it is very complicated.
My favorite part was when I went in the basement. We just found another body, like just some random
someone who's already in the house dead.
It literally, I think the body description when you pick it up just says employee and a number or something. But like, yeah, so we went in the basement because I'm like, oh, let's see what's going on in the basement. You go down there, there's just a dead body just laying down there.
Jesus.
But it's pretty cool. Ghost Exorcism Incorporated is what it was called.
Yeah.
But not bad. And then literally right before I came in here, it came out on the Xbox this past, I don't know, 2 weeks, Poppy's Playtime.
Oh, yeah.
And so I bought it for my girlfriend because I was like, oh, she liked the game on the phone. She's got that little stuffed animal. And so today we were sitting there. I'm like, why don't you? She's like, she was painting all day, and she's like, I want to play something. I'm like, why don't you play Poppy's Playtime? She's like, I don't want to play that right now. I'm like, no, let's load it up. You love Poppy. And then discover, like, I don't think she really likes Poppy very much. And so it turned into me playing that for a little while. I think it's pretty cool, actually. So like, I like the hands that you have that like you can shoot the left and right hand out. It's a very cool mechanic. So, but I didn't get up to the point where Poppy jumps out because by the time I was getting to that point, it was like I have to come in here and start recording. So, but I'm actually gonna play more of it. So I looked it up. It's also like a really easy achievement game. I think I read it takes like 12 minutes to do everything.
I'm not surprised.
So. Yeah. I will probably crush that out, but I want to see more of it. But I actually enjoyed my time. It's only $5, so it has to be. I told her even when she was playing, I was like, this has to be more enjoyable with a controller than playing on a phone. Like, there's no way.
Imagine
because she got pretty far on a phone. I further than I ever could because I would have given up on that. So, but that covers pretty much what I've been playing. I mean, I have some Supermarket Simulator here and there. I will kick it over to you, Dan, because you have a big, hot new release.
Well, I mean, by all accounts and by sales numbers, the release of the summer so far.
Ooh.
Yeah.
But I played College Football 25. I got it. I didn't get the early access because I didn't need to pay an extra $30 for this. But, it's been 11 years since a college football game has been out. And, like, as someone who really missed those games and really loved playing those hell of a lot more than Madden back in the day, this game's really good. Like, it's weird because you'll see some reviews out there that are like, oh, it's a 7 or it's not that good or whatever. But every comment I've read on reviews, especially like on the IGN one, are all like, are we playing the same game? Because
I've noticed that as well. Yeah.
It's odd because they're complaining about stuff that doesn't make sense to complain about. One of the biggest gripes I think I've seen is, it doesn't have as many features as it should. Or it doesn't have as many features as like 2014 did or something like that, which I get to an extent, but you also, this isn't a direct sequel they didn't just copy 14 over and take stuff out of it. This is, for all intents and purposes, is a new game.
It's also been 10 years in that. The last one was 360, right?
Generations.
Yeah.
Yeah, PS3 and 360.
That didn't even come out on Xbox One.
This isn't PS4. Like they took everything they had and moved it over. They had to rebuild this from the ground up.
Yeah.
And, obviously they're taking some stuff from Madden, and I haven't played a Madden game in a long enough time to compare it, but the football feels really good. The Dynasty stuff is really good. I haven't done, like, the create your guy and just do his stuff yet, because I'm just playing through a Dynasty, but
yeah,
everything else I've played so far is really good. It feels correct. Like, the UI's a little too much at some points and not enough at others. That's something that can be tweaked for future releases. I will say I did play some of the Ultimate Team, and that's an okay thing for like a Madden game where, like, I play the show and I do like the card stuff in that. The college game's a little strange because it's like you're not going to know all these kids. Like, they license as many people as possible, which is really cool, but I don't know who any of these people are. I know some of them.
Yeah.
So these Ultimate Team cards mean nothing to me. And they just added some, like, legend stuff in the game. So, like, you can get famous people. That's where the meat of this game is going to be for most people, is famous college players like Tim Tebow and all this other stuff.
For sure.
The only thing I really will say I dislike about Ultimate Team, the animations for, like, opening packs take forever. I don't know if it's thinking super hard about what card it's going to give you or what, but
probably that would be my guess.
10 to 15 seconds to open a pack of cards.
Way too long.
Because it has some weird long animation and some other stuff. That's
way too long.
Unreasonable for something where, like, in MLB The Show, it takes a second for it to open.
Yeah.
It's weird. I'm having a ton of fun with it. Like, it's the kind of game where I'm going to play it year round because you can just kind of start over.
I mean, when I was at Walmart last weekend, they had copies, but it was very low. Like, it wasn't like stocked.
No, and like I was at Target, and Target had like Target does like a display in the middle of the aisle sometimes.
Yeah,
full of college football. Like it sold 2.2 million people bought it early.
Bought the early like $100.
Paid $100 for it. That's wild.
Yeah,
like this game is going to be a huge success no matter what. And like it's back.
I mean, it also means that trend's not going to end. So
no. No. You know what though? But like, if you have a problem with that trend, then don't buy the game 3 days early. It does nothing to hurt you.
No, it doesn't. And like, also, I think the number for that edition this time was so high is because it's been 10 years.
Just like the amount of people waiting for it.
Yeah.
Like there was a lot of, I will say, I think that caused some confusion this time around, just because if people aren't used to that early access thing and you're just back because you really wanted a college football game, you may not have realized what day it actually released and what time.
Yeah.
Because GameStops were weird about it and they had no clue. Where technically I was able to get mine, even though it was a normal one, the night before at the close of the GameStop. But it depended on what GameStop you got it at and what time they closed at.
Such a weird thing.
Yeah. And then I heard a buddy of mine went to pick his up at a different one and was almost told, no, you can't have it. So he was like, no, I can. And you need to call somebody to figure this out. Yeah. And eventually got his. But I love it. It's exactly what I wanted. I will say there's two things I don't like. One thing is, I assume this is because it finally has real kids in it.
Okay.
You cannot edit the rosters. Because the thing about the old games was because it couldn't have real people, everybody was just allowed to edit QB number 5 or running back number 10 is what their names would be. So a lot of people would go in and edit and make rosters you could upload and download and all that stuff. Now you can't touch them, but I guess it might have something to do with licensing, which that's a trade-off you get. If you want real people, that's a trade-off you're going to have to make, and that's okay. The second thing is it's got a really in-depth like team builder thing. I've seen some crazy shit that people have made, but it's all online. Like you do it on your computer,
I see,
and then you can download it to your console. But when you do that, there's no way to edit it from the console.
So you can only edit it on a computer?
Yes, and you can only edit it if you make your own. So one of the things I wanted to do is, make your own school and then do that stuff. And we talk about all the time. We love Coach. So I was like, I'm gonna be the Coach team, and luckily someone had made it. So I was like, excellent. So
that also doesn't surprise me though.
No, it was on their day one that I played.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
But it's got like the logo, the color scheme, all that all that kind of stuff in it. But one thing I wanted to change was on the purple jerseys. Whoever made this, God bless them, they did almost everything. But the font or like the color for the name on the back was black, and you can't see it.
Oh.
Even when it's like you're looking at it, it's hard to tell. So I was like, I just make that white, and the problem is solved. I cannot edit it.
Okay.
So it's a little annoying. That's an aesthetic thing for me, but I get that having it online, it gives you more freedom because it's easier to upload logos and stuff. And some people have made some crazy. I saw one guy who made an entire team that's like Mushroom Kingdom University, and it's just the Mario mushroom on the helmet, and like they look like they're wearing overalls and stuff.
That's good.
That's wild.
It's cool what you can do, but I would like it if there was a way to edit it once it's like downloaded. Not like maybe not have the whole creation suite, but just edit it. But
a little strange.
Yeah, and it's funny. I'm interested to see what happens to Madden this year because I think we know like Madden as a trend, like people are just kind of tired of it because it never changes, it never improves.
No.
And now that it has a quote unquote like direct competitor of its own game.
Yeah.
What I wouldn't be surprised if college football did better. Because it's been gone for so long. People wanted it for so long.
I think it's honestly a given that this year college football will sell higher.
Which is great. And I hope
But it's not a bad thing for Madden.
No, it's not. It's a good thing.
Not at all.
The other thing, and I've talked about it a couple times before already, is I hope that the success of this shows EA that people want stuff back that used to exist.
Yeah.
And like I told you, MVP baseball would be incredible. I don't think they could get away with making NBA Live again just because 2K kind of has that market cornered.
It's pretty cornered.
Right. But you think college football coming back was crazy? I can tell you right now, there's one other sports game that if it came back would outsell everything. And if NFL 2K somehow came back, that thing, people still talk about 2K5.
Yeah.
And you think about, like, that was 20 years ago that the 2K things happened. Remember, because that game came out, it was $20.
I remember that.
They did it on purpose to slap Madden in the face, where it's like, you're charging 50, we'll charge 20 and make a better game. And they did it.
And they did.
And then that's what happened, where all of these licensing rights for football happened, and then baseball happened. Everything kind of tumbled downhill after that. But I can tell you right now, man, if NFL 2K25 came out, you think college football sold a lot? That would sell a lot.
It would sell a lot.
Yeah, so
that'd be interesting.
I don't know what the rights are for NFL anymore these days. That could be that's over. I know the baseball stuff's over, but that could be over. And if it is, 2K should see this and be like, we should try.
We should seriously try.
Yeah. And even then, even if you don't want to make it $20, because that's not reasonable at this point.
Probably not.
It could be $40.
Yeah. You could still undercut it.
You could still undercut Madden and still get the
100%
the crowd from that instead. Like, that would be hilarious, I think, if they did that.
Yeah.
But yeah, college football, it's really good. If for some reason you're on the fence about it, just buy it. That's the other thing too, is like, I think if you wanted it, you're gonna like it no matter what.
Yeah.
But I also think that if it's not something you necessarily thought of or you didn't realize was coming and you bought it, you'd probably still like it. There's nothing really wrong with the game. You know, I have a couple glitches here and there, but what game doesn't? I will tell you the one funny one I've had so far is I was winning some game like 28-3, and then it did this thing where, like, it put up a graphic at the bottom. It was like points by quarters. It was like 7-0, 7-0. Somehow it gave the other team on that graphic 1 point in one quarter, which is impossible.
Okay.
But it still added up to 3 at the. I don't know what the hell happened, but you know, tiny little shit that happens in games.
Yeah.
So along with that, I finally finished up Ghostbusters and platinum of that. It's nice to have that game done. It was mostly just dumb little shit that you had to finish up, where it's like fly through 4 Ghostbusters at the same time, and we really had to choreograph that, and it was difficult only having 3 people.
How did you do it with just 3 people?
You had to kind of get lucky, where 2 people, because you have 2 Ghostbusters, and you can kind of draw the AI to certain places, and then we just kind of had to line up and try. There was a couple other trophies that were a pain in the ass, but doable. What's odd about that game is, like, it's still getting updates every so often, like tiny little ones with like cosmetics, which is strange. But then we found out right before we finished it, there's a season 2 planned for that game.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
It's going to add achievements?
There's a roadmap and stuff for, I don't know.
Huh.
I hope not. I don't want to have to do it anymore.
It's like, I don't want to install it.
I love the game. I think it's a very good game and it's fun. But by the time we were done with it, we all kind of agreed, like, we're done.
Yeah.
You're kind of stuck in this loop of doing the same thing over and over again. And that's why I don't understand people who can play Dead by Daylight forever. It's just the same game at a certain point over and over again.
You've added characters too.
Yeah. Well, the thing, Ghostbusters doesn't really have much else to add. They've added some ghosts, like they added the one from the movie, and they've updated, like, and put slime in there. But they're just different types of ghosts that already existed.
Yeah.
And the different types of ghosts, especially when they're AI, doesn't really change how you tackle a mission. Okay. So it's time to move on. It's time to be done. It's time to
for sure.
return to the island, Kyle. For Dead Island Riptide, that's next.
Is that next?
Yeah.
Okay.
Apparently that's easier to platinum than the first Dead Island. So
I would hope so.
Well, you can import. I didn't know this. You can import your character.
That's cool.
You can keep, but the only thing you keep is, like, your level and your skills unlocked.
Okay.
But you don't get to keep your weapons or anything. That makes sense. I get it. Because if we got to keep our modded weapons, it'd be insane.
Be done with that game real fast.
Yeah. Well, that's the plan. You know, to move on to other things. You know what? This is kind of off topic a little bit, but did you see that? I told you earlier, 7 days that I got a PS5 version.
Yeah, out of the blue. And apparently it fixes a lot of the problems that game had.
I would hope so. I mean, that game came out when we worked at GameStop.
I think the article I saw was that for the first time ever, it was getting positive reviews for the console version.
Oh, wow.
Crazy.
So, yeah. I remember when it came out because I remember we found out right away it was bad, like from whatever review.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember specifically there was one guy that came in and we told him like 3 times, I don't think I'd buy this brand new, man. We'll maybe wait a couple days till someone trades it in, but it's getting bad reviews.
Yeah.
And I think it wasn't even a full price game. I want to say it was like 40.
It was a 40 or 50.
But he bought it, and I remember he came back in a couple hours later wanting to return it. And I was like, I told you, man, we can't. And he traded in because he hated it. So
because it wasn't good.
And then it sold right away because it was the only copy in the district. Yeah. That was used. So then I was getting phone calls like, do you have this?
Yeah.
So
I saw that, and then
random.
The other crazy thing I saw today is Foam Stars gets an update where it adds 1 bronze trophy. Wow.
What? Wow.
I cannot believe that game's still getting up. Like, how is that game not dead yet?
I would have thought they would have abandoned that.
It's got to be dead soon. It's Square. They're going to kill it. They don't care. All right. So anyway, that was off topic. The last thing I really put more time into was, I do have one other thing, was First Descendant. I finally got past that boss I was stuck on, the one that was the first pure damage gated one, where it's like you had to be able to do a certain amount of damage this amount of time. Finally got past that. I finally unlocked another Descendant because I finally got through the bullshit of getting the thing randomly to unlock it and hope you get the thing to be able to craft. I finally got through all that shit.
Okay.
So now I have 4 people, and I need to get 1 more for a trophy. Yeah, the game just becomes the same loop where it's running and doing missions and then figuring out what you need to acquire and doing those missions over and over again. I'm currently working on getting the materials needed to boost a character or prestige them essentially.
Okay.
Where I can equip more stuff to them, but I have to start over, quote unquote, at level 1. Even though character levels don't mean a whole lot, it's all weapon levels.
Yeah.
It's a good mindless shooter because it's easy to find people playing. You can join a public thing almost.
There's always going to be
within
people playing it.
10 seconds.
Yeah. That's just by the nature of it being free to play.
It's starting to get crazy how many people I've seen in the game that are paying for cosmetics.
I'm not surprised.
There's a lot. And I would wonder I would be very interested to see how much money this game's making from cosmetics and stuff.
Be
interesting. It's gotta be crazy. Because I see a lot of it. But yeah, that game's still fun. You just run around and do the same shit over and over again.
Yeah.
And then the last thing, and this isn't a specific thing, but I got out my box of GameCube games, and my kids were kind of looking through it and poking around in there, and then my son found Simpsons Road Rage, and I was like, all right, hang on. So when I got my GameCube and I started digging through a box, I got my $300 cables and hooked them up to my component to my TV. I will say the cube looks really, really good when you
looks
it up that way. It still looks good.
If you hook it up by that or by that HDMI adapter, it's impressive how good those games still look.
Right, for a system that is 20
years old
plus, almost
25 years old.
I was shocked by how good Simpsons Road Rage looked on there. The only thing is I don't know where my memory card is, so now I got to look around and.
Oh man!
If you need a memory card, I have 1,600.
I know, I have a whole bunch. They must be in their own box.
That was my weird thing when I was at GameStop and kids would trade in GameCube games
and forget the memory cards.
And they would forget the memory card, and we didn't take memory cards, or we didn't take weird ones or something. I don't know. I would
the
take
off-brand Mad Catz.
Yeah, I took all the. I have so many GameCube memory cards. It's ridiculous.
If you have a Mad Catz branded one you don't want. Okay, I'll take it because
I gotta look because I literally just found the box last weekend when we were going through stuff in the guest room that had stuff I was missing. That stupid HDMI adapter, the fancy Super Nintendo HDMI. I don't know why I can't think of the name of it. Escapes me right now. You know what I'm talking about. Another PS1 I had, the PS2, the slim PS2 I had, a bunch of shit. So those memory cards are in there. They're in a bag. You know what they're in? They're in the same bag with all my loose Game Boy Advance games.
Oh, okay.
So they're all in the same bag. So
yeah.
oh, cool.
If you got just a shitty 59 block Mad Catz one or whatever,
I'm sure I do.
At least let me borrow it so I can find, because I've got at least 2, 3, 4, probably like 6 or 7 memory cards.
But they're probably
some 59, some 251, some 1019s. I think I have a sealed one somewhere as like one that I just never opened.
Okay.
But in doing so and searching for cables to hook up this GameCube, I told you I found my Hori SNES controller for GameCube, which is a great one. So I think I might get out, pop in the Game Boy Player disc and play some GBA stuff on there too.
There you go. Yeah.
But yeah, it's I've got my cube hooked up.
You think GameCube games look good with that HDMI or that cable? Game Boy Advance games, if you have the player, like look real damn good.
That's how it when the Game Boy Player came out and I had that Hori controller. That was just how I played Game Boy Advance games. I played through Golden Sun on the GameCube 1 and 2.
Yeah,
and it was
probably a great way to play it.
Full RPG in and of itself. The fact that they have not like put those games out on the Switch or like bundled them as one thing. Can you imagine if they bundled them and remastered it as like one game?
It's surprising that we're 7 years in and they haven't done that.
I would buy that in a heartbeat for a Switch.
Yeah, it is kind of crazy.
What a great like lost. The DS one it's pretty weak comparatively, but it's such a fucking great.
So now I have that stuff. So now I got to test the Eternal Dark. I'm sure the Eternal Darkness plays fine.
Oh, I'm sure.
But I got to test all that, and then I think I'm actually going to leave the GameCube hooked up in the office here.
Yeah,
so
mine's just sitting there with a controller plugged in, ready to go.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing is, how I know that my memory cards are in a different box? I have like 5 Wavebirds. I can't find a single receiver. They're probably in that box with.
I just have the one
with the memory cards. So I gotta find those to get those because the Wavebird's an incredible controller.
It's a great controller.
Yeah. So, but that's it for me. Is playing some GameCube games and going through my collection and stuff.
How about you, Matt?
Nothing exciting for me. Playing Dave the Diver, Dying Light 2. Again, we tried that Ghost Exorcism game.
Yeah.
I did play. I have been playing Madden 23.
Would that be the current one right now since the new one's not
24.
out? 24 is the current one. Okay.
Yeah. I don't even know why. I just wanted to run through a couple matches, like nothing crazy. And I've been buying a lot of games too. So like talking about buying things, I bought the Mortuary Assistant because I saw that one on discount in Steam.
Did you try it yet?
Not yet.
Okay.
I am gonna try it though because I've been really interested in that one. I was gonna get one they called the Autopsy, but reading reviews on it, everybody was saying the Mortuary Assistant was better. They said the only thing they against Autopsy and Assistant was that in Autopsy you're actually performing the autopsy.
Oh, and the other one you're probably just handing the tools.
Yeah, probably. Okay. And so sense. Like. I was like, you know what? As cool as that is, I'm kind of down to be creeped out right now. So I just went ahead and pulled the trigger in buying that because I did buy, another game called Pacific Drive.
Actually. Yeah, I saw you bought that. Have you tried that yet?
So prior to starting, I did. I'm like probably not even through the first mission. It's like the tutorial type thing, but. The clips of it looked really good, and I was just like, you know what? Let's just try it. Let's see what up. I haven't, like I said, I'm maybe like 5 minutes into it, and then I had to stop it. But it's interesting. Like it looks pretty interesting because the first part of it, you're driving down this winding hill.
Okay,
and all of a sudden, like your car just stops, and once it stops. It essentially, I guess you like jump through this portal type thing.
Okay.
And once you're in this portal, you're in like another dimension. So you have to like find your new car that you're working with. And I just found that. And I was driving away from it. Like I was driving to something. But I didn't get that far into it. So it looks interesting, and I'm really going to try to give it a go.
Yeah, because I saw it was on sale the other day, and then I ended up getting that Scars Above game instead.
Yeah.
And then
I bought, Dead Rising, the pack that came out for Steam.
Yeah, we were talking about that because I said I'd run some of that with you.
I haven't actually played through a Dead Rising game for no reason. Like Dead Rising 1, I think I put the most time into, but I got stuck with the boss, and I was just like, fuck this boss.
The first time you run through that game, especially if you don't know what's going on, they can be challenging as hell. Yeah, those bosses. I mean, I think Dan would agree. Like, I told him, like, if you and I are gonna start one, it probably would be off the record, and I think Dan would agree.
That's probably the easiest one to get into. Easiest one to play.
Well, because it has the sandbox mode,
right?
Yeah,
which I think if you don't know a lot of the concepts of Dead Rising, that's a good place to start.
Gotcha.
So, because if you were just jumping to 2, you gotta be mindful of the time.
Very strict time
that you're gonna play multiple runs of that game. Depending on what you want to do. It's a really cool loop that they've created for those games that they get away from later on.
Yeah.
And it's very unique, but when you're new to it and you don't know what's going on, it can be frustrating. So, and then again, those psychopaths, early on, they can be really challenging until you get your character leveled up.
Dead Rising 1, it's difficult.
And they're creepy.
I think I got into the third psychopath, and at that point, I was literally loading in and just dying, and I was just like, fuck this game, I'm done. I don't want to deal with it anymore, and I just stopped playing it. So
yeah.
But I mean, all in all, I figured, the new one's coming out, and I was like, you know what,
I'm amped for it.
Yeah, let's just try and start running through these if we can. So I bought a bunch of stuff, and I really need to stop. But Steam be having some good sales, man, and I just
they've been having good sales.
So, I bought that, and Little Misfortunate is another one I bought that I'm interested in getting because it looks a little weird, so I'm just down for that. And I actually ended up picking up the twin pack for Final Fantasy VII and Final Fantasy VIII on the Switch.
That's cool.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah. I saw it was like $20. Some person was selling it on Facebook Marketplace, so I was
there you go.
Why not?
That was Japan only, right?
Import only, yeah.
Import only, yeah. That's cool to have, though.
Yeah, so I went ahead and grabbed that because, I mean, that's my favorite Final Fantasy game.
Yeah.
Which I know I'll get hate for that, of course. But whatever. I don't care. It's a good game. But yeah, that's it for me. So hopefully this week I can play a little more Pacific Drive and kind of see what it's about.
Yeah, I'm very interested in that game. So
yeah.
But we can go ahead and kick over to news. The first thing, this is actually kind of a bummer for this studio because I'm really excited about this game, but a fully playable build of Space Marine 2 Warhammer Space Marine 2 leaked on a piracy website. So, and it's like we're roughly about 2 months away from launch, so it does suck because a lot of that's out there now. People know the entire story of the game, everything that's going on in it.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm somebody that knows very little about Warhammer. I just find that universe fascinating. So even if I were to read spoilers, I wouldn't know what the fuck's going on anyways for me personally, but it's a crummy situation, especially that game looks outstanding. Like, even if you watch the new trailers for it, like even visually. So
I'm not even that into Warhammer, and I think it looks
I reinstalled the first one on Steam because I want to run through because I have not played it since it came out in 360. So, and that I thought it was like 2012 or 2013. It was 2008 when that game came out.
Oh, wow, yeah.
It's been that long. So, and it's still, I'll say, at least running on PC, because I loaded it up to kind of tweak the settings and stuff. It still looks really good for a game that's 15 years old. So this is a rumor that was going on for a couple days, and it was been debunked. I'll explain what it is, but there's this rumor going around about 343 Industries. The rumor that was going around was essentially that, and it was a silly rumor to begin with because it seemed too obvious because it's what everybody would want, which was 343 was just kind of becoming a figurehead for Halo, but they were going to be outsourcing not one but two projects to different studios internally to Microsoft. One of them being whatever the next mainline Halo is, the other being an offshoot that we don't know much about. They have come out and debunked this since. Nothing's changing with 343. That's the bummer of that. And with being Halo news in here, I'll just say it really quick. I didn't put it in here, but the TV show was canceled.
Yeah.
So we can all We can all applaud. They are shopping it around for someone to pick it up, but nobody's going to pick it up. I cannot imagine the numbers for that second season were strong at all, at all. So, and I have to imagine anybody that even was like, I'll try season 2 stuck with it till the end. I mean, I told you not. I mean, it doesn't. It's a shitty show, but I told you the last episode ended with Master Chief killing the Arbiter. So, like,
it's insane.
It has literally domes him, and it's just like that's done. So it's ridiculous. That's the only scene of season 2 I saw, and only because I saw it. I watched it on YouTube because I saw the title of the YouTube video, and I thought that seems ridiculous. No, that's what happens. So, that Dead by Daylight spinoff, single player game, the casting of Frank Stone was still a terrible fucking name for that game. Has been given a release date here. I believe it's the first week of September 3rd. So, it's a game that I will check out when it's cheap because I have a feeling. You know what this game reminds me of, and it reminds me in the way of how it's going to release, not exactly how it plays. It reminds me of the Callisto Protocol, and I think that's how this game's going to go down. I think it's going to come out. I think it'll get, 7s and 8s, and people think it's a good game. I don't think it's going to sell because I think the audience that maybe gets drawn into it are the most hard of the hardcore Dead by Daylight fans,
right?
And even them, it's not what they want,
Right?
They want more characters for the game. So I feel like in 2 months, by Halloween, this game will probably be at least half price. So, but not to say that the game's going to be bad or anything.
Stupid.
The name is terrible.
God, so bad.
It's such a bad name. The FTC is not done with Microsoft. They have officially called out Microsoft after they did the whole raising the price at Game Pass and putting in the different stipulations about the new tier and the other tiers, which you kind of figured that was going to happen because they did say during that trial they were not going to do this.
Right.
So, and then they went and did exactly what they said they weren't going to do. So,
right.
It's not surprising, but it is, it is what it is.
I think it's too late, for any of this stuff.
It's too, I also feel like, obviously the FTC is holding a grudge. Right. So,
because
that's how I feel.
They looked like idiots during the whole thing.
Yes.
And they lost. So now it's going to be like, well, let's try to take them down with anything and they'll keep throwing stuff at it.
There was somebody, they probably have one person like, you need to sit on this company. The minute they do something fucking stupid, you have to jump on it. And the minute they were like, hey, we're raising the price of Game Pass, the guy was like, ah!
Success.
That's what happened. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So, we got an email in about this next news article. We have not. I look back. We have not talked about the situation on the podcast at all.
Not at all.
And no.
It's weird.
And part of the reason I personally haven't brought it up is because when it was kind of bubbling over and when it started, there wasn't a lot of facts about it. It just kind of seemed like I don't know what's true and what's not in this situation. So it's like I don't want to comment on something I don't know the entire story of. But I will read the email first and we can get into it. So this email comes to us from Todd from New York. Hi, 572 crew. I'm curious your thoughts concerning this whole Assassin's Creed fiasco. Seems like you guys have kind of avoided this topic when going through news, and I'm curious where you guys stand on the game. Are any of you even remotely interested in playing it this fall? Any of you skipping it because of the controversy? Thanks. So the controversy surrounding this game, which they could have easily skirted this entire situation by just originally coming out and saying that this game is, which we all know what it is. It's historical fiction.
Right.
Yeah. That's what it is. That's what all Assassin's Creed games have always been. But for whatever reason, they didn't want to do that with this game. And now they are. Now they are coming out saying it's historical fiction, but for whatever reason, they didn't want to do that. So the controversy surrounding this game has been around the real life actual character of Yasuke, which is the African-American guy.
You're right.
If he really was a samurai in history or not. A lot of the stuff came out that the guy that did the research apparently fumbled a lot of it from what I read.
Yeah.
And has been kind of discredited. They're pulling down a lot of his research and stuff. And the Japanese community is very pissed off about this game to the point that the government over there has gotten involved, and they're actually talking about banning it in Japan from not releasing, which is a huge fucking deal for Japan because it's the first one set in feudal Japan.
But they do that kind of stuff with anything that shows their country in a negative light. Like, obviously,
they do.
There's been war games in the past that have either not released there or had to change things drastically to even be released, which makes sense because, like, there are parts of their history they want to forget. There's parts of our history we want to forget. Like,
for sure.
But you know, there would at least be something about it where if it was historically accurate, then why they even tried to do that is beyond me. None of this stuff is historically accurate. We're also talking about it being historically accurate in a franchise which is about me laying in a machine and going to the memories of my ancestors who had a magic apple that the aliens blew up the sun with or some shit. Remember how stupid those games were, like, in the beginning?
Remember Assassin's Creed, what's the Greek mythology one? I can't think of it.
Odyssey?
Not Origins. Odyssey, right? Yeah. Half of that is, Greek
not
mythology.
Yes.
Not real. Like, you fight Medusa in that game.
Yeah, the games are meant to be, like, inspired by a time period in history.
Yeah.
You could have made this guy just be an original character. You could have written him a whole backstory about how he was brought over on a boat and forced into this life.
Yeah.
And he's breaking out of the life. And everyone would have been like, cool, man, sure.
Yeah.
But no, you had to go digging in history to try to find something,
to justify it,
anything that would fit what you wanted to do, and then spin a whole story about how this actually happened. No,
and then to double and triple down,
triple down, and company backs you.
Nope,
and then oops, never mind.
Now here's it. Not one, not two. It's 4 pages of an apology. I don't know if
that's crazy.
No, I didn't.
It's a 4-page apology.
That's crazy.
I read through it.
It is ridiculous. But yeah, for me, I am not interested in the game. It has nothing to do with the controversy. I don't care about samurai stuff, and I'm tired of samurai stuff. And I look at this game, it's not what I'm interested in. Like, I just had Ghost of Tsushima a couple of years ago. I didn't care for Sekiro. I'm happy that they finally made the feudal Japan game that everybody's begged for. I mean, you remember 10 years ago, when we were working at GameStop and people would come in before they would announce that year's Assassin's Creed. The number one thing someone would say is, "Boy, I hope it's set in feudal Japan." So it's crazy to me that we finally did it, but then massively fumble this part of it.
I'm not interested in it just because I've hit the Assassin's Creed burnout wall again.
Yeah.
Even after loving Origins and loving Odyssey even more.
Yeah.
Valhalla, I started and it just didn't hook me right away. I do want to go. It
hasn't hooked me.
I do want to
And that's my other thing too. It's like, if I'm gonna play one at this point, I'll just go to that one that I haven't played much of.
I'll play the one I own that I've only played like 4 hours of. And I'll do what I do, and I'll wait for Shadows to be $20 at some point, because
whatever Game of the Year version.
Ubisoft is insane, and they will put gold editions of these games on sale for $20, like
digitally,
a year and a half or 2 years after they come out.
That's how I got Odyssey for so cheap.
Yeah, so that's why I got all of Origins again on PlayStation, because I think the whole thing was $20.
Yeah,
I might just go play that. I'd probably rather play that again on PlayStation after I completed it on Xbox than play Shadows right now. Just because I'm tired of the mess. I'm tired of even though
somehow
I know
it's been beaten more to death than some of the Gamergate stuff has.
But even though I know that these games are coming out 2 to 3 years apart from each other, it still doesn't feel like that. It still feels like there's too many of them in a short amount of time.
A lot of that, though, is COVID has fucked up our concept of time.
Well, there's that, but I also think that it's because to finish Odyssey took me 150 plus hours.
It took me 150 hours.
And Origins takes the same amount. And Valhalla, from what I can tell,
even
takes
longer.
At least the same amount.
Valhalla also has that big story expansion
crazy
they put
deep
out, which is even
stuff.
more stuff.
So those games are too big to come out as close together as they do.
It is. So for me personally, it has nothing to do with the controversy.
There's another one in production too, right? The other one, the Hex one?
The other one that's I believe it is called Hex. That one is supposed to be something different, though. It's like an online,
more like
they're trying to expand it.
That's the online thing.
Okay.
Yeah. So as far as after
I still haven't even played Mirage.
I haven't played. Mirage. I'm not really.
I don't know. I'm interested in it because it's different. Because it's not.
Probably would take you 150 hours. Right. Yeah. It seems like it's more like.
But that's another one. Like I didn't even touch that one. I'd rather try that than get into the Shadows crap. At least until Shadows comes out, and I can read a review that tells me if it's like technically a good game. Because I can get past the story because I can just skip everything and say fuck it, I don't care. I don't have time for story in video games anymore. Sad but true.
Yeah, no, no, you have to, especially you get to a point where you have to budget your time.
Right.
Like, I've had to do that more and more.
But unless it's a game like Baldur's Gate where the story is the game.
Yeah.
Right. That's a narrative game with dice roll mechanics and stuff in it.
That game, I also have no problem sitting down going, okay, I'm going to sit. I have 2-3 hours to sit and play this. I might not get very far.
Right.
Because I'm learning the concepts of it, and I'm fine with that.
That's a D&D game, so the whole point of a D&D game is telling a story and writing a story.
Yeah. So that game, I have no problem with its length because of what it is.
Right.
So, but yeah, when you look at like an Assassin's Creed, I just don't feel like dumping 150 hours into jumping through all those hoops again.
Mm-hmm.
Getting all this collectible, that collectible, exploring this giant fucking map that's 8 times the size of the last one. It's like, really, dear God. So yeah, I don't know.
Well, the other thing too is like just one last thing on Assassin's Creed. Like, aren't they remaking Black Flag?
Supposedly that's the rumor. Okay. They have not confirmed that.
I'd rather play that again.
I would also rather play that again.
Yeah,
like that's probably my favorite one. Yeah,
that's probably the best one that I really felt like. Well, I mean, and I haven't finished playing Odyssey either, so I mean.
And I think you said you haven't played Origins, right?
I started it, but I didn't like it, so I just stopped.
That game that was the last one I cared about.
Takes a little bit.
Like, I really like the story of too, because your buddy Bayek is awesome.
He's a great character.
Yeah.
The Humble Bundle, or the Humble Team. So I had to look into this a little bit because originally when I saw the article, I thought it was the website. Humble Bundle was being shut down completely.
That'd be crazy. That wouldn't even make sense.
No, you can go to it right now. But you have to also remember IGN owns the Humble Store and all that.
Right. Mm.
But no, it is specifically, there are games that like they have an indie team that has made games. That team has been shut down. So, like I said, originally when I put this article in there, I thought it was humblebundle.com, and I was like, holy shit, that's a huge deal. It's not. It's the people that are behind some of the games that they've put out through the Humble Bundle store. I think it even says here, like some of them, the Humble games that we've seen, at least these are ones that came to Xbox, but like Slay the Spire, that was one of them. Coral Island, Midnight Fight Express, and Temtem, I think is the other kind of like big one that people know about. Yeah. So it's the team that were behind those games. The other one I just read now, I realized what it was, Signalis. Do you know what that one? That was that horror one. That was a pretty good game. Yeah, so that team was a team of about 36 people. But yeah, that whole team has been gutted out of that. So kind of a weird thing when, you look at the other side of IGN, or I believe isn't it Ziff Davis that owns IGN and that the big company?
Yes.
Kind of weird that they're, we just bought all these other news outlets out, but they're shutting this down. So.
Well, hey man, GameStop had a company that made indie games, remember?
I sure do. Shadows of the Damned is getting a remake, remaster, whatever you want to call it.
That's just a remaster.
I think it is just a remaster. I think it's like Lollipop Chainsaw, which seems like it's just a remaster.
Right.
It's only $25.
It's a good deal.
Which is not a bad deal. Like for a game that I played once like 12 years ago, I'd be more inclined to check that out than the Lollipop Chainsaw thing for like 50 or whatever that is. So
I think it's the kind of game where like if you played it before, like $25 to get it again, sure.
I remember enjoying it.
Yeah.
So that was one of those like weird. What is it? Grasshopper Studios? Is that the name of the studio?
Grasshopper manufacturer. Yeah.
Very, very like odd kind of humorous at times.
But isn't that when you consider 25, like that's kind of like the perfect price for a PS3 era remaster game?
For for what that game is, yes.
Just for because like we talked about it before, like PS3 and 360 had a lot of those like C tier games, which
we don't get anymore.
They don't exist anymore. Or if they do, they're crap. Like they're bad. But they had that perfect level of C tier stuff where it was all like weird, interesting stuff. It was all new stuff, and it was all like different from each other and worth a shot. Like $25 to remaster those games 10, 15 years later is like the perfect price for that kind of stuff.
It is the right price for it. I'd say there's a lot more experimentation in that era at that level.
And I think a ton of that stuff,
it's just indie now.
Remastered for current stuff for that price would sell like crazy.
2025? Yeah.
A perfect example would be like Matt, he had his pickups the last episode, like Naughty Bear. I think that game would sell like crazy for a $25 remaster.
I think it would too.
For sure.
There's just tons of stuff that fit in that, like Enslaved.
Enslaved would.
I just have such a vivid like picture in my head of that level of games from that era.
Yeah.
Because there were a ton of them.
There were a ton. Remember Me is a great example.
Yeah, you and I love that game. I would buy that for $25.
It's hard. It's crazy to think that the team that made that game is the same team that makes the Life is Strange.
Mm-hmm.
It's that team.
The first one, at least.
At least the first one, but like that, it's crazy because that's completely different stuff.
But you can see hints of it in there with like the
story.
There was the story beats where it's like rewinding stuff or trying to figure out like a puzzle almost with memories and stuff.
I mean, we've seen now. Look at what Sony. Look what they're doing with the PS2
and PSP.
PS4 and PS5. And PSP, like that, I bought a couple of those.
That Jean d'Arc game just came out for PS5, which was a PSP game. That's crazy. Yeah. That's a game that was a one-off thing that could have been forgotten about.
So, and if they keep them at this price point, I don't think anybody's going to complain.
No, for PSP and PS2 stuff to keep it 10, 15, and for PS3 stuff to be 25, perfect.
Yeah.
So I think that would be perfect. I would like to see it continue, but yeah, this being the price that it is, I will probably check it out. So,
or you can,
not a bad.
It's a good wish list to get it for 15 later.
Yeah, true. Yep.
Essentially.
Concord, which we talked about a couple weeks ago, Sony's, for whatever reason, attempt to jump into the hero shooter category with, I'll remind you, this game's not free to play. It is a $40 release. I believe they did come out either today or yesterday, and they did say, like, because of that, there's no season pass or anything.
Yes, there's no battle pass.
Which, that's cool, I guess, but you are paying $40 up front, right. So I would hope they weren't doing that. It's not doing well at all, the beta.
No.
People are just not playing it. And again, we can only go off of the Steam numbers, so you can look at it that way. We don't have what the PlayStation numbers. I'm sure they're probably a little bit higher there because it is a PlayStation game. But on Steam, it has peaked at just 2,388 people. That was the peak.
Well, and the important note is the first beta, you had to pre-order it to be able to play it.
Yeah. This is the open beta.
Right. This is open beta. Numbers are worse.
And the like low point was around 557 people.
Crazy.
Damn.
So
that's wild.
It's just it's so funny to me because like I said, like people just seem to generally not be interested in the game, and I get it. Like the people have at this point, the people that like hero shooters, they have what they like.
Mm-hmm.
They're less likely to leave Overwatch 2, a game that's been established for a while, to go and play this.
But they also have other options. Like there are other games that currently exist that fit that model, like Valorant.
Yeah.
And
Valorant's another good example.
I don't know if that Paladins game still existed, but wasn't that one of them too?
Yeah, it's still
that was one of them.
So like the games that you like are already there. So now Concord has to jam itself into a market where it's already full. And I think a lot of it too is like, I don't even think people necessarily hate the game. I think they just don't care.
I think that's the biggest part. I think it's just people don't give a shit about the game.
Right.
Yeah.
And now they're trying to put out like all these character trailers. And now there's animated cinematics. And it's like, how much money are we pumping into this game?
That's the bigger story that I want to know at the end of the day is how much money has Sony put behind this thing? because at this point, with all the evidence we have leading up to, it's going to be a spectacular failure.
It's almost odd to
Not
me
because
that,
it's a bad game,
Yeah.
but because nobody cares.
it's almost odd to me there isn't a battle pass, because how are you planning to make money off of this game after they've paid the initial $40?
Yeah,
Right?
I don't know.
There's no way this game can sustain itself on new sales of Concord when
No.
the open beta is in the low 4 digits.
I think part of it too is this game would fall under the category of Sony dipping into the live service, and I think probably at some point during this game's development 6 months ago when Helldivers 2 came out, because that was kind of the first of these live service games, and obviously Helldivers 2 is like the biggest success story of the year.
Right.
Fantastic.
They looked at that and probably said, oh, well, we did so well here that people are going to really care about our next live service game.
Well,
and they dumped a lot more into it.
But the other issue they're running into is they're having a direct competitor coming out around the same time.
Oh, the Marvel
one,
Rivals.
which I don't know if you saw numbers for that on Steam.
Much higher.
52,000, I think, is the number I saw.
Golly.
And again, that the proxy there is it's Marvel.
That's fine though.
So,
but that's your selling point, so capitalize on it. You can't knock that game for being a Marvel game and people being interested in Marvel to play it. They're building off an established thing. Concord is trying to copy Marvel down to Guardians of the Galaxy Walmart edition.
Yeah.
It's not working.
No.
I don't know what's going to happen to that game, but Sony will never release numbers for people playing on PlayStation, so we'll never fully know.
We'll never know.
But there will be something where, you can scrape. They can scrape like the time that people have played off of that based on their accounts.
Yeah,
I'm sure someone could put that data together and figure out that like the average person has played Concord for 4 hours and then they never played again.
The one thing we might get numbers for is how much it sells. So copy wise,
if it does well.
Yeah, like if sales of it, I can't imagine though. Like the beta would be the best way to kind of predetermine how it's going to do. So I can't imagine with the numbers we've seen out of the beta, even if it's just being Steam, I cannot imagine all of a sudden in 2-3 weeks here, boom, this game's some massive Helldivers 2 success. It's not going to happen.
It's never going to.
So
I think I'd be lucky to hit 6 digits.
Yeah.
I agree with you there. So we'll see. I'm curious. That's what I'm very interested to see where it falls when it's all said and done. Speaking of Helldivers 2, they're getting a pretty big update. I believe it's coming August 6th.
Mm-hmm.
Hell yeah.
What I saw. August 6th. It's going to get a new difficulty level. Do we need another harder difficulty level?
I'm sure there are people out there who
I'm sure there are people. Bonus enemies, extra locations. The name, what is it called? Named Escalation of Freedom. Free update has been designed as a thank you to the gigantic community built around the game. It's all free, so I will say this game has also seen a pretty massive drop off in players, but that's going to happen.
It happens no matter what.
Yeah, it's going to happen no matter what. I mean, this was a big deal 6 months ago. I was like, nobody could stop talking about Helldivers 2. You know?
But if they're committed to keep putting out content like this every 4 months, 6 months, then the game will live forever.
And people will come back.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the right way to see that. But again, it's also a completely different style game than Concord. So
I just want you to know, I'm looking at that article, and the first comment from somebody says Helldivers are on their deathbed counting down to the release of Concord.
No.
Always some trolls out there.
Always.
No, it's be the kind of thing where people play Concord and go, why am I just playing Helldivers?
That's
and then
more
they'll
true.
Just go back to Helldivers.
That's
more true. Did you put this in here, Dan?
I did just because I think it's funny because
Heihachi,
the OG daddy of Tekken series is back as a DLC character for 8. You know why that's crazy, Kyle? You probably don't know. They fucking killed him in 7. He's dead.
Okay.
I
haven't played a Tekken since probably 2.
No, he fell into a fucking volcano. He's dead.
I remember you telling me that when 7 was out.
But, and the other thing was in the new game, they basically have a character who is him in the Reina girl. Like she basically kind of fights like him, and there's going through the story, you kind of get this like, is she him kind of a thing.
Okay,
nah, he's just back. But Tekken has gone steadily off the rails for years, and now it's like nobody dies. Okay, it's fine.
I forget that they came out this year.
Yeah, it's great.
I don't know, man. Liu Kang's died a couple of times too, and he's always
but he's also reset the entire fucking universe. So who the hell knows anymore? He's a god
to as a fire god,
but he's not anymore. But he is.
Yeah, but he is.
But yeah. So I mean, just more Tekken 8 content is good. Like I'm excited.
No, that's cool.
I'm down for that.
Stalker 2 has been delayed again by 2 months. This team can take as much time as they want. This is the Ukraine team, so like I get it. They cited unexpected anomalies, so they just want two more months to kind of polish the game. Comes out November 20th now. That's perfectly fine. Honestly, even with it being shoved in November, I don't think it's going to shift any of the other games around.
It's still day one Game Pass, isn't it?
It is a day one Game Pass game. I don't think because it's such a different type of game. I don't think it's going to affect any of the other big games coming out with Game Pass this year. Yeah. Indie or I still maintain Indie is going to get pushed. So
at least a little bit, I think.
I think it gets pushed to February. I'm still going to die on that hill. So until we get an actual date.
Yeah.
Because I think that's why they're holding on giving a date for that game is because they kind of know. So. The big news story that kind of broke is like the game industry doesn't need this right now, to be fair, but just with all the layoffs and all the other bullshit that's been going on. But video game voice actors are officially going on strike. It's all over AI protections. Kind of like we had a little bit of this with the actors strike from last year. That wasn't the whole reason why they were on strike, but that was a chunk of it was AI stuff. This kind of I don't want to diminish what it did for the Actors Guild and stuff, but this I almost would say is a little bit more of a bigger deal for voice acting.
Yeah.
So than it is for at least right now. I'm sure technology will get there at some point, but right now, at least for voice, it's a lot bigger of a deal than it is for, physical acting. But again, this is a really bad time. I did see Rockstar today was very quick to point out that this would not affect the release of GTA 6. So I thought that was funny. So that to me that means whatever voice acting for GTA 6 was done is done. And that's
at least for any major roles that aren't like extras, they can just make people who work there just go, hey, jump in the booth and do this.
Hey, we need to hit you. We need to pinch you with a fork.
Yeah, we need to pretend you're getting hit by a car. Can you do that?
You just scream this mic for a while.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I have no idea how long this is going to go on. It's definitely going to affect projects. I don't know where the line is drawn for like prime example, like we just said, Indiana Jones. Does that delay Indiana Jones? Like, is he done doing his voice work for that game? Probably, but
I would assume most of that is done.
Yeah, I would think anything that is at least this year up until beginning of next year is probably safe.
They tend to do voice acting stuff fairly early on.
Yeah.
Because that's how a lot of stuff gets leaked for games.
It is.
Remember the Tony Todd Venom stuff or I forget, it was one of the Kingdom Hearts games where the guy's like, oh, I already recorded all my lines for Goofy or whatever. And it's like, what the hell are you talking about? They haven't even announced that game yet.
That was a good one.
Yeah.
So we'll see. More will develop. This literally just broke yesterday. They just started it today at the time of our recording. So there's really not much more we can say about it yet.
I can tell you it's going to end up being a fucking mess. I can tell you that much.
Oh, I 100% agree with that. Yep. So this excites me, although we'll get into it. But it was spotted at San Diego Comic-Con that it looks like they are going to remaster Legacy of Kain 1 and 2. I saw a picture of it.
It's on a placard for like a figure or something.
Yeah, so that's dope. Looks like that, and fantastic. I wish it was Blood Omen 1, but and I'm hoping
you better buy this one for full price.
Oh, I'm buying this. I mean, that's a series that I really like to begin with, but I wish they would start at the beginning. So But this is cool. I'm sure we'll hear more about it pretty soon, considering that kind of leaked out. So they might. It feels like one of those situations where somebody's like, "Oh shit, we've been sitting on that trailer for a while. Maybe we should put that out."
But the odd thing though is like, I don't understand why all these people said they act like these are all leaks. These are public displays at a very large comic convention.
The largest convention.
Because like one of the things I saw that was what was it? Oh, like that. There's like a Lego Mario thing coming out with him and Yoshi and stuff. It's a big leak. No, it's on display at the Comic-Con with a poster.
You're talking about the one that moves with the crank?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not a leak.
I
watched a video of it today on IGN.
They're revealing it. It's not a leak.
Yeah, that's not a leak.
They don't put that thing out and go, "Oh shit, somebody accidentally put that in the case with the placard with the date and the price on it." No. These aren't leaks.
So no, it's just
these are reveals.
Interesting, but yeah, I would like put the trailer out then. At this point, I want to see it. I want to see what it looks like.
It's probably coming within like the next week. And you know how it is. They say they do these things to be an exciting thing at Comic-Con, and then after that, it's like when this is over, we'll put all the shit out.
Isn't Comic-Con goes through the weekend? I think into Monday and Tuesday or something like that.
Typically,
so like we still have days of it left. Like we're literally on day 1 or day 0, whatever they call it today. So, and then we have this was also, I guess this be breaking news because this just literally got put up like
this
an hour before.
Not long ago,
yeah. Mortal Kombat 1, much like Mortal Kombat 11, is getting a story expansion, as well as what is it, 6 additional characters?
Giant story campaign, 6 characters, and apparently there's more to it as well.
More to it as well. Out September 24th for $50. Is what we were discussing.
It's very
a little high for what they're giving. So the cool thing here for the characters, unfortunately, it was kind of leaked a while ago, but it is Ghostface, it is T-1000, and it is Conan, played by Arnold.
Yeah.
So, which you imagine they're gonna get his voice. Do you think they get fucking Robert Patrick to sit in a voice booth?
I thought they said that they were.
I mean, it's not like he has that much going on right now anyway, so I'm sure they were like, do you want to come back and voice T-1000? I'm sure that dude be like, hell yeah.
He works with Warner already because he's in Peacemaker. Like he's...
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you're right. Okay, that's probably part of it too. They're like, we could get him to do that.
Well, because Peacemaker is in the game. You know what I mean? So
yeah, you're right. That makes more sense now that I think about it.
So they at least have, at the minimum, they have access to at least call him up and be like, can you come in here and read some stuff? And if he doesn't want to do
John Cena.
If he doesn't want to do it, they can find a sound alike. I'm sure
they can.
They can't get John Cena right now. He's on his farewell tour.
Yeah, true.
But
he's locked in.
Yeah, I think Ghostface is a cool idea for this franchise. Like his kills and stuff could be pretty good.
Yeah.
They showed Cyrax and Sector, who are now women, okay, and they're also not fully robots, okay. And then
also the way remember this is like their version of multiverse stuff, so that makes sense for what this game is.
Yeah.
Like that didn't bother me in any way. I just when they first showed, I was like, oh, and then I was like, oh, it's a woman, okay, but it's multiverse, so that makes sense. Yeah, so like that's fine. Yeah, I mean, again, like the story stuff looked really good and really well. It's just $50 for a game that was already $70 is pushing it into that territory when probably 6 to 8 months from the release of this expansion, there will be the Game of the Year edition.
There's that.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I did love the story of 1, but I will, like, as a whole, I don't like the game as much as 11.
No, I agree with you there.
They luckily, they do tend to put that stuff on sale a lot, and it's for cheap. Like, I think you could buy 11 complete right now for, like, $10, $15.
Yeah, it's usually pretty cheap.
So that might be the kind of thing I wish list it and wait for it to go on sale. And
I mean, I feel like 11 I played for a while.
Yeah.
And 1 I fell off of right away.
I loved the story in 1, and I thought it was really fun what they were trying to do. I just don't think that they capitalized on what they built.
Yeah. And that's the unfortunate thing here. So, and then last news article that we have here, and I actually did see this.
This is today too, yeah.
Yeah, they dropped the first teaser trailer for the Yakuza TV show based on the game. You watched it?
Yeah, I'm fucking amped.
You're into it? They
didn't show much. They didn't show almost anything.
To be fair, they didn't show much. So I don't know. Watching at least this trailer, I just looked at it and it gave me the like vibe of a video game adaptation from 20 years ago.
I don't know. It's tough to say what it's actually going to be. Because...
Yeah, that's the thing too. It's tough to say what it's going to be, and I think of, and again, I'm no Yakuza expert. I've only played 7 and 8, so which I get bitched at constantly for only going in at a certain point. But from what I know of Yakuza and how crazy that franchise is and how it gets, I don't even. If you were going to do something, TV show makes more sense than doing a movie series.
Yeah, it's definitely a TV show.
It's the right choice in the right direction to go, but even still, I don't know if it's going to work as a TV show.
I think it could, because do they
get into the crazy zany stuff, or do you think they just ignore that?
I think they get into a level of it because this is a Yakuza thing based off like the original ones, and those aren't as crazy.
No, it's not like a dragon.
But they very much are like a drama series type thing where there's a lot of story, there's a lot of exposition.
Yeah,
there is a very complicated like weaving storyline throughout almost every game about this like plot of land in the city. So I think the first thing I sent when my friend sent me the trailer was, man, that looks crazy for a show that's going to be about a real estate development on an empty lot in Kamurocho. Because that's what the whole plot of those games is. So I'm interested to see what they do. Obviously, the hope is like there's just some really killer fight scenes in it. And and the rest of it can just be a drama series built around that. So
I mean, I'll say this: like Prime had the game adaptation a year of Fallout.
Yeah,
so like
they know what I trust.
They could strike lightning again.
Yes.
Yeah, I'd say they're the studio putting stuff out correctly right now.
And I think after Fallout's success, if this is successful, the hope is that we get more other franchises.
I would like an Elder Scrolls TV show. That's what I want.
They could do a killer job with that because it's basically just take House of the Dragon and tweak some shit.
I was gonna say, especially when, as someone who is watching House of the Dragon, this season is like, I talk about this with my buddy all the time. Like, this season is literally based on about 2 pages of the book it's based on. Mm-hmm. And it's just dragging shit out. Like, there's one character who this entire season of that show is just living in a fucking hallucination.
Okay, sure.
And we talk about it every day. I'm like, do you like his story arc this season? It's pretty fucking bad. So, but
something like Skyrim would totally work.
Totally work. And considering people don't really, the only reason why I say they might not go for that, at least right now, is they have the Rings of Power, so they kind of have their fantasy
in the middle
thing.
Of that.
They do also have that Wheel of Time show, although I don't know if that's continuing because I don't know if the second season of it was successful. And the Rings of Power, like, even though it's not a very good show from what I've watched, I watched the first season. I just don't think they can afford to have a third fantasy show right now.
No, it's not worth it to do it now. And it might not even be worth it to do it until you're like, okay, Fallout's going to end at season 5.
And I think a lot of it has to do with it would cannibalize those shows, because if you tell people, hey, we're making an Elder Scrolls show.
I don't know if it would cannibalize, because you would do the thing where you'd pace it out where like every 6 months one of them comes back, or every 12 months something comes back. But maybe it's the kind of thing where let's just make Fallout because Todd's helping to make Fallout.
Yeah.
Let's make that. It's over at season 5. And then in 2 years, we can do a Skyrim or an Elder. They would just probably call it Elder Scrolls.
I think so.
Because then that frees them up to not be locked into only Skyrim. They can.
I think the other thing too is like, or if they subtitle it, then they're stuck.
Mm-hmm.
They can't use that for a game or something. So
right. That show could easily just be called The Elder Scrolls. And
people wouldn't care. Yeah. That's fine. I mean, Fallout's literally just called Fallout.
Yep.
So
doesn't have to be locked. Or another one would be like Red Dead Redemption could easily be a TV show.
It's crazy. I mean, that's Rockstar though, so they probably want to keep their stuff on lockdown. But it is kind of crazy that they haven't.
You could easily just make the first game into a TV show.
Even now, you think about I think about what's on TV, what's on these streaming services. Other than Yellowstone, there's not really a Western.
Right. And I think
that's a pretty open market.
And Red Dead has a very good story that translates into a show pretty well. It has a definitive ending. Imagine, exactly what the ending of that season would be. Him fucking gunned down by the government. So, but like that could easily be a show. There's as long as these shows keep
out of that easily.
At least if these shows keep coming out and they keep being popular, we're going to be open to more things. And you can't tell me Rockstar would turn down the money they make off of it.
Not at all.
Grand Theft Auto, I don't think would work as a show, but Red Dead does.
No. GTA is too scattered.
Yeah.
Like for what it is, especially, I mean, think about the last one. There's 3 different characters with 3 different things going on. Like that's way too like there's way too complicated.
You could do 4 and there's lots of scenes of him going bowling.
Calling up his cousin. You want to go bowling? Yeah.
Nico.
There we go.
Oh man. So we can kick it over to movies though. Yeah, I got 2 big ones to talk about. One that you and I have seen now, Dan. But before we get into that one, I went last weekend and saw Twisters, which I'll say I didn't go in with like any mindset at all for it. I went in because the real reason I went to see Twisters because my girlfriend majored in meteorology.
Oh, cool!
And so she wanted to see it because she thought it'd be a humorous movie. Because I think the last one of those that she made me watch was the Geostorm, which was really fucking bad.
Wow.
And that was a comedy for her. But this one, like the science in the movie is very stupid. And I can get into that part of it in a second. But it's such a fucking good movie. Like it's ridiculous how like going into it, I was like, I don't know, like Twisters, the original Twisters, a movie I saw once 30 years ago at the drive-in here when I was a kid. I've never watched that movie a second time. I remember it. I remember enjoying it as a kid. Whatever. So going into this one, I was like, I don't know. Like, are they even gonna? What is this gonna be? Like, what can they do with it? How is it gonna relate today? It is a fantastic. It's almost a throwback to 90s movies in many ways. Like, there's no. I'll say this. There's even if you want to talk like woke agenda, there's no kind of woke agenda, but also. I thought this movie they would get really heavy into like climate and stuff like that. There's no climate message in this movie at all either.
Oh wow.
Yeah, there's literally no message in this movie. It is literally just the way it starts. You have the main chick who is like in college, maybe like right out of college, and her whole ordeal is she has theorized a way to stop tornadoes from happening. She has like this chemical mixture that she supposedly is going to get shot up into the tornado when they leave it in the path of a tornado, and it will dissolve the tornado and stop it. That's her whole purpose. And she makes the problem is they cannot determine ahead of time what kind of category the tornado is going to be. So when they determine, they're like, oh, this is going to be whatever like low tier category, and it ends up being the highest tier category. So her whole team at the beginning of this movie, and this isn't a spoiler because they show in the trailer, her whole team, except for her and one other guy, gets fucking killed by this tornado. Like, they all just fucking die. And then they flash forward 5 years. She works for the Weather Channel, New York. She's very much not in this. And the other guy that survived comes to find her and says, hey, I haven't talked to you in 5 years. I remember what you were doing. I'm doing all this other stuff with technology from the military. I want you to come back and help me to stop this stuff from happening. They go back to, after a little bit of her putzing around, they end up going back. They go back to, I believe it's Oklahoma. Tornado Alley.
It's filmed in Oklahoma, yeah.
Okay. And that's when the real star of this movie comes rolling in, which is Glenn Powell, who plays, I believe his character's name is Tyler. And this is the funny part of the movie. I didn't know what his character was like before I saw the movie. He's just a fucking YouTuber. So he's just a YouTuber that goes out and like, again, this is where believability kind of goes out a little bit out of the window. He drives around a pickup truck that can drive into a tornado, has drills that drill into the ground, and they basically just ride the tornado, and they'll like shoot fireworks and shit up into it. They have a YouTube channel, and he's real popular and successful. This dude is so fucking charming in this movie. It is so ridiculous. Like, I remember him from Top Gun Maverick. He was really good in that, but like, this motherfucker is going to be a star. Like, if he hasn't become one already. I didn't see the Sydney Sweeney movie he was in.
That. I did not like him in that, to be fair.
You didn't like him in that. No. He's great in this. Like, he's fantastic in this. And obviously, like, him and the girl, like, they have kind of their off-kilter, like, romance that kind of goes on. But it never gets, like, really into the romance part of it. It's just they have a real good chemistry together in this movie. But it's just fun. It's just like from beginning to end, I had a blast watching it. It's fun. I saw it in a 4DX theater. I didn't even know going into the movie that I paid for a 4DX. And then when the chairs started really rumbling, I realized, I was like, oh
damn.
This is a 4DX theater. That's why it was $3 more. And I understood. I was like, you know what? I enjoyed it even more. I want to go see Alien in that theater. So like that was a lot of fun, but I had a blast. I gave it an 8 out of 10. And like I went in with no expectation. Like I thought I was going to sit there and roll my eyes through the entire thing. This is fucking terrible. It was great. I had a great time with it.
So my question is, because maybe I haven't seen the original Twisters in so long. I think the original Twister movie was to help us figure out what category tornadoes they were dealing with.
Yeah, and so the only tie back they have to the original movie is the technology that they had in that movie that they shoot up into this tornado, like those little balls. They use that in this movie, and they reference that. That is the only thing. Literal only reference to the original movie is that thing. They use it once, like in the beginning of the movie.
Gotcha.
So, and then now what they're doing, it still seems ridiculous, but the other friend of hers that comes back and is like, hey, I want to pull you in to help us with this. They're trying to use these cameras to make a 3D map of a tornado so they can study it. And then in the middle, they shoot up those little orb things.
Oh, okay. All right.
So that's kind of the premise of so they build off of what they were doing in the first one that way, which is interesting. But
okay.
That is literally the only tie to the original movie. There's no mention of any characters or anything like that. Because like there's even one part when the girl goes back to, like, she hasn't talked to her mom in 5 years. She goes back, like, there was a point where it's like, well, if you really wanted to tie it original, like, the mom could come out, could be Helen Hunt, right? It's not. So, like, they totally just don't do that at all. So, but I can't recommend it enough. Like, I just, it was a fun, enjoyable throwback to that type of movie from the 90s, and really, really fun. So,
all right, so what do we call the sequel?
I saw somebody put Twisters with the 3 in there, and I was like, because I saw, like, let's make that happen. I'm like, yeah, let's do it.
Twisted.
Fuck it.
I hope it. Let's do it this way. I enjoyed it enough. I hope it doesn't take another 30 years for another Twister. I don't think it will. And then obviously the big, huge movie of probably the year. Honestly, it's been that anticipated. You and I saw last night, Dan, which is Deadpool and Wolverine.
Mm-hmm.
We are not going to spoil it. So Matt hasn't seen.
We'll keep it.
You're going tomorrow, I think. So we're not going to spoil anything about it.
We'll keep it brief.
We'll keep it brief. I enjoyed the hell out of it.
I think it's fun as hell. Like
it's probably my favorite of the 3 Deadpool movies.
For sure. I think there's a couple reasons why, but it's not a perfect movie by any means, but
no,
it is very fun. It's exactly what I kind of wanted it to be.
Yeah.
I told you when it was over, it was like 8.5, I would say, probably out of 10.
Yeah. It's I was at an 8 out of 10.
It's got a couple problems. Some of the pacing is a little off. There are parts where it is slow. And for a movie like this, where the rest of it is very like go, 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 action, when it's not doing that, you kind of are like, all right, when are we going to get back to it? And some of the CG is bad.
Some of the CG is bad.
Pretty. It looks something cartoony, but it's not supposed to.
There is something at the end of, like, towards the end of the movie, and I obviously we're speaking very around it, but when you see it, and you'll notice it, Matt, it looks like a cartoon.
It's out of place.
And it shouldn't. It looks, when it comes out onto the screen, you will notice it and go, boy, that doesn't look like it fits this movie, kind of a thing. But even then, you're going to this movie to see Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman fuck around for 2 hours. Like,
pretty much.
That's what everybody has wanted forever.
Mm-hmm.
And you finally get it in this movie, and they deliver on that part of it. The actual plot of the movie, I think, is a little flimsy at times, because they are trying to tie it into what's going on in Marvel a little bit.
But they really don't, though. By the end of the movie, it's just a standalone story that really doesn't move the MCU forward in any way.
No, like there's no ramifications for
nothing.
Whatever's going to happen.
My
next.
hope with going into it was this was going to be the chance they had to say fuck all this and then fix the MCU so that going forward it isn't a mess. It's not even close. There's a scene very early in the movie after the opening credits where he is in. This isn't. Well, no, he's in the MCU, but like that scene doesn't even need to be in the movie.
I know what you're talking about.
You know what I'm talking about? Like the interview doesn't need to be in the movie.
Yeah, okay. That was the thing I mentioned to my girlfriend today. I'm like, because we were watching a couple different reviews of it on YouTube, and I told her because one of the reviews we watched, guy was like, there are certain scenes that drag on too long.
Yeah.
That is, and I looked at her. I said, "That is a scene in the movie I felt dragged on too long."
I feel like it doesn't even
could have cut that in half.
That doesn't even be there because it has no ramifications for anything that happens after it.
There really isn't. There really isn't.
So it's very much a self-contained Deadpool movie that, at the same time, apologizes for everything Fox did and what Disney has done. It's strange. It crosses so many lines to different things. That at some points it does kind of feel all over the place, but it's also what made it fun. Like
they are not afraid. Like it is a movie that is not afraid to make fun of recent decisions that Marvel has made.
Yeah,
there are a couple of jokes in there. One in particular that I cannot mention because it spoils a cameo, but I was kind of surprised. Like, wow, that's cutting pretty deep for them.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm surprised that made it.
The cameos are great.
Oh, they're fantastic.
It includes a couple you will not see coming at all.
There is one in particular that I would have never guessed, and when it happened, it made the entire movie for me.
So you're talking about the second one, not the other one.
I'm talking about later in the movie.
Yeah, okay. Where
the other one that you're talking about
is crazy.
Is something that people were talking about for a while, but it was one of those like I don't think they'll ever do it.
Right.
So that's all I'll say about that.
Not only that, but like the one you're talking about, there's another one in that scene that I would argue is crazy.
Oh, I know what you're I know what you're talking about. Yeah. And that's even more fucking crazy.
Yeah.
I had to explain, and that was when I had to explain to my girlfriend. Yeah, because she didn't understand. But like, it's crazy that they did that here.
There's jokes that pay off stuff that happened like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
It's just a wild ride with, again, a pretty weak plot for like him having to save the world, quote unquote, and the solution to it is a cop out in a way, but I don't know. It's worth it. Like, it's so fun and dumb. And
I think it is very smart of Marvel to, especially this year, cut everything else back and have this be their only movie this year. Because I think that's only going to help it too. I think they perfectly put it in a great slot for when it come out. Because again, in the next couple of weeks, you look at the movies coming out. What's it going to compete with?
Nothing. It's going to be number one for a month.
Like even that Alien movie comes out August 16th. It's not going to beat Deadpool.
No.
Maybe, but not by much.
Well, and it does fit in the MCU stuff in a good time where it's kind of like take a breather before we restart the major stuff with Captain America.
Yeah, I was gonna say like the next big movie is February Captain America. I think the next TV show is the Agatha thing, which is in September. October.
That lives in its own world.
It's its own thing though.
But the Captain America is going to be the kickoff to Avengers 5 and 6.
Exactly.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
Yeah. So this will be planting the seeds, and then we've got Thunderbolts, which will be another big part of.
I forgot about
probably
that. Probably
setting up future Avengers movies. Like I think the whole thing is right now. We're not even necessarily building towards Avengers 5. I think the whole point is we're building towards Secret Wars for 6.
Okay.
We're going to be trying to get in as many people as possible and try to find a way to get them all to meet at this point. Because for Secret Wars, I don't know what path they're going to go. Because Secret Wars in the comics is a very strange event where basically the Beyonder pulls people into Battle World and they all fight each other kind of a thing. And like that just seems like that would be kind of out of place in an MCU that is at least somewhat grounded in reality. I know that's a weird thing to say, but like having an alien being pull them to some other fucking planet to fight doesn't really fit in what we done.
They ever say, are they going to do a third season of that Loki show, or is that done?
I don't think they've said. I don't know if they can.
Because also at the same time, like it kind of seems like maybe this is going to put a pin on multiverse stuff.
Yeah, well, and the end of Loki tried to do that. And the way Loki season 2 ends is not conducive to a season 3. I don't know how you would fix that.
Yeah.
That
I mean, I don't think it's a spoiler to say like they make fun of multiverses in this movie.
Yeah, they reference episodes of TV shows like this out loud, which is really funny. Like the fourth wall stuff is all really well done.
It's probably, I would argue, the fourth wall stuff is the best of any of the Deadpool movies in this one.
Yeah,
nice.
So just by nature,
it's a fantastic movie. I honestly can't wait to watch it again.
Yeah, that's the thing is like I would like to see it again simply because there were a lot of scenes too where like you might have missed some stuff because people were laughing so loud at some of the stuff,
or were shocked of certain things that happened.
But it's a great time. It's easily going to make $1 billion,
and it does set up. You know, it doesn't really set up like another movie per se, but it does. It's open. They could do whatever they want. Like there'll be another Deadpool movie just because this is going to make a ton of money. It is almost crazy how much freedom they clearly gave him to do whatever he wanted. I would be very interested to see the kind of stuff they had to be like. Okay, well, you can't do that though because
I'd be curious
they push the limits on everything.
Damn.
Like I said, there are a couple of jokes made directly at the expense of Marvel that I was like, well, I'm surprised they were like, yeah, that's fine. Like,
I think Marvel has seen with like the recent movies and stuff that
they have.
We're starting to lose it.
Yeah,
like Kevin Feige, because Kevin Feige, you didn't watch all of She-Hulk, right?
No.
She-Hulk at the end, the final episode gets very self-referential.
I've read about it.
About how the MCU is kind of fucked up and some of this stuff doesn't really make sense anymore. So they're not afraid to call themselves out because...
No.
But it's because they're making comic books into movies and comic books don't make sense.
Yeah.
You know? Like, so you can't blame them for a lot of stuff. It's amazing to think that we're this deep in the MCU. And even with the multiverse stuff that's going on, there is some semblance of an overall story that is still intact. Even with the retcons and the time travel and the multiverse, like there's still kind of one big story that is still somewhat intact. That's impressive in its own right.
It is.
But I don't know. We need to get to Avengers 6, do Secret Wars, and then just like everything's done and start over.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think that's the other reason why on the flip side of it, I'm excited to see if we can finally get this DC stuff taken off in a great direction with Superman. Because, like I said, up until this Deadpool movie, I've been very lukewarm on everything Marvel. Like there's been a hitter that like Guardians 3 was a fantastic
Spider-Man,
movie,
stuff like that.
Spider-Man No Way Home. This easily is in that threshold.
Mm-hmm.
This
is
Marvel.
Top tier Marvel movie.
This is a top tier movie. So, but that's why I'm excited because I'm hoping that takes off and we have something to compete because maybe that will also be a good kick for them.
Well, and one of the things rumors floating around now, and I don't know how true this would be, but Avengers 5 obviously isn't going to be Kang related anymore.
No,
but the new thing is now thanks to the end of the Marvels and with Deadpool essentially bringing the Fox stuff in. The Avengers 5 could be Avengers versus X-Men like they did that event in the comics.
Okay.
Which is a kind of a really interesting way to bring both things together.
It is.
And have that be like their first big meeting is a really big conflict about stuff. And I think that's a little bit heavy-handed for a movie, but it would need setup is a problem.
The other thing I'll say here too is like it's even left open-ended on like I'm sure Hugh Jackman will put the costume on again and he'll play Wolverine.
He doesn't have to though.
But the thing is, I don't think it'll be at the capacity for a full movie like this. I think it will be cameo related, and at this point, I think this is now the perfect time to, if you wanted to pass the torch and have a brand new team of X-Men and actors, you could do
or ride this stuff out to Avengers 6 and then say definitively like that story is over. And we're going to tell a new story, and we're going to start with new people, and we're going to change everything. That's when you can finally reset this stuff. Because part of me was thinking about, we've talked about like Tom Holland and will he come back as Spider-Man and stuff. At this point, why don't we just get him to come back for those 2 Avengers movies and just say we're done? You don't have to make a Spider-Man 4.
Yeah.
Because at the end of 3, everything is wiped clean. And the rest of it can be up to your imagination to him, what he does with the rest of his life. But to have him pop in for Avengers 5 and 6 would be,
he kind of has to be there, right?
Right. So I think that would be there to provide closure to his story.
Yeah.
Or if 6 is going to be Secret Wars, he initially gets the symbiote suit in Secret Wars. So what you could do, is put him in 6, and he gets the suit. And then you get one more Spider-Man movie where he has the suit, and
Tom Hardy
it there. Tom Hardy shows up, and
The Last Dance,
and then Toxin shows up, and all the symbiotes. Like,
oh gosh,
I forgot that Venom movie's coming. Oh,
yeah. It's crazy that there's only one Marvel Studios movie this year, but there are 3 Sony ones.
Wow,
because you had Madam Web, you have Kraven.
Wow, do we have Kraven?
And you have, and you got Venom: The Last Dance. So,
but.
Which,
boy. But I was thinking maybe we don't need really to do a Spider-Man movie or any of these other things and just have it all be like, we're not going to get another Ant-Man movie.
No,
but I would love for him to be there for 5 and 6 for Avengers. Like,
nice. I can see that.
And by that point, all these people are too old to continue to play the roles in this story. Start it over.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah.
Well, because by that point, it'll have been fucking 30 years that this universe has existed almost.
Pretty much, yeah. That's crazy to think about, but yeah. So, but yeah, like I said, Deadpool, I gave it an 8 out of 10. You said 8.5.
Easily the best
worth
Deadpool movie.
Yeah. How about you, Matt? What have you've watched much more than either of us?
Yeah, I decided to take it upon myself to watch and crack into some stuff. I dove into my Netflix list, and I decided to watch that Tom Hanks movie, A Man Named Otto.
Okay.
I don't know when it came out. Yeah.
It's like a year and a half ago.
I think so. Yeah, okay. So, I will say this. If it is something you're interested in watching, do note that there are a lot of scenes that involve suicide.
That I know.
But the story of it makes perfect sense as far as to why his character is doing what he's doing.
Okay.
I thought it was really good. Like I got emotional in it. Like it was, I think Tom Hanks played the role really well. And the description over Netflix was kind of a little misleading because in the description, it explains that he kind of runs into like neighbor kids who kind of help him through his tough time. Really though, it's their mother that helps him through the tough time because she's like very adamant that there is something going on with him.
Okay.
And her goal is to figure out what it is. And so like eventually he opens up to her and stuff like that. But it, like all in all, it's a very warm, heartfelt movie. Like I thought it was very well done. So I honestly I'd give that movie a solid 7.5. It was very good. Next I cracked into In a Violent Nature. This one was really cool. It was a really cool slasher flick. It was filmed, POV of the killer.
You follow him pretty much the entire movie, right?
There's like a 10-minute window, 10-15-minute window when you're following someone else.
Okay.
But you're essentially following him and like he's the main character.
Okay.
On most of these slasher flicks, it's somebody else, and you're following them, and he's just
Johnny Teenager and his band of friends,
merry misfits and shit like that.
Woods.
And they read the book, and the book is that kind of shit. But like realistically, like it starts off, and It does not stop.
Okay.
I thought the first official kill he does, you don't see really. He just kind of alludes to it.
They probably play it up, yeah.
But the second kill was the most I felt was the most violent yet innovative ways of killing somebody.
Okay.
So it was wild. I don't think like the gore factor, like we've talked about this week.
Yeah.
If you've watched the Terrifier movies, I think the gore factor in that was a lot heavier than this one. No. This one was pretty gory, but it wasn't like inappropriate gore.
It's not. Probably what I think you're trying to say. It's not like cartoonish.
Exactly. Thank you.
It's more realistic.
It's more realistic. Like they're. People were saying it was really bad and it was really violent, but like
it's called In a Violent Nature.
But I didn't even really feel like it was, because like there's a couple of kills where he doesn't. The way he kills the people isn't really bad. It's more of what he does after to make sure they're not coming back.
Okay,
it becomes violent. Okay, but if you do watch it, the second kill he does is top fucking tier. Like it's fantastic.
Okay.
I gave that movie like a solid 8. That movie is fantastic. Like I might have to watch it again.
I told you right before we started recording, they literally just announced today they're gonna make a sequel,
and I'm super excited because that sequel is gonna hit so well.
I think it.
As long as they do it the same way they did this one, I think it's gonna be fantastic.
I want to say I read it. It costs under $1 million. It's not a very expensive movie. It's very low budget,
and I can see why.
I think I read it made about $5 million. So like that's
fantastic. It's so good.
It's something I'm probably gonna watch in the next. Before we record next time, because
if you do watch it, you got to tell me how you feel about that second.
I constantly have like during the day either Jason movies on in the background, or today I had Jason is Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street. So I watched the first 3 of those today.
I will say this, man, if you watch it, you'll probably at some point you'll be like, oh shit, because like I felt myself doing that when I was watching. I was like, what's he about to do? Oh my god, that's what he's about to do. But, it was a very solid slasher flick. I'm really glad I watched it. Then I watched The Exorcism. That's the new.
It's the Russell Crowe, but it's not a sequel to the one last year. He's not the Pope's exorcist.
So
he's like an actor, right?
He is an actor playing a priest in a movie. Which was already weird because I thought he was a priest, like in the movie, but he's an actor playing a priest. So it wasn't really bad. Like, I think Russell Crowe gave a good performance. I thought it was a really solid performance from him. But like in other exorcism movies I've watched, there's like a lot of like violence in it, or a lot of like I would say even like demonic photography. In a way,
I know what you mean.
This one isn't really that bad. It's the story of it, I think, progresses really well, where it's not needed.
Okay.
But all in all, I thought the movie was very good. Like, as long as you don't go in thinking this is the Pope's exorcism, or this is a version of the Pope's exorcism,
or a sequel,
in any way, you're fine. Because that's what really threw me off. For some reason, I was like, you know, he literally just did the Pope's exorcism.
I think that's what threw a lot of people off, is because even me, when they put out the trailer, I was like, is this a sequel to that thing that just came out like 6 months ago?
But it's definitely not a sequel. I can tell you that much. It was very good. I give it a 7 out of 10. Honestly, it was super solid. And then I really tried to devote my time right now to finishing or watching those Studio Ghibli movies on Max.
Yeah.
My dad had a couple of them in his DVD and Blu-ray collection after he passed, and I never actually got to sit down and watch it. So like I Googled how they which ones came out and the best way to watch it and stuff like that. But unfortunately, I kind of jumped ahead and I decided to watch Spirited Away.
That's one of the most popular ones.
I think it came out in like 94, I think it was 94, 95.
It's one from the 90s. I know that.
Yeah, I definitely know it's one from the 90s. I will say though, it was a lot. Oh no, I apologize. 2003.
Okay.
It was really good.
Okay.
I don't know what I went in with thinking about it. If you haven't watched it, I definitely say give it an opportunity. I think the story developing was very well done.
Okay.
The drawing style is really good too. Like, I really rave about this because it's just a really good movie. Like overall,
isn't Princess Mononoke? Isn't that one of those?
I believe so. Yes.
Okay, that is the one that I have seen.
I want to say the most recent one that came out was like the Son of Heron. I think is that one that came out.
That I think is the last one that they were doing or whatever. Yeah. So the only one I ever saw was the Princess Mononoke, and I thought that was pretty good whenever I did watch it. So.
I thought this one was really good. Like I really did enjoy the story of it, like the character development between what was happening and then everything like that. I guess for me, I thought it was gonna weigh more on the anime. Like I mean, it is an anime, but like more of like the fighting aspect of an anime, and that's what I was kind of concerned about. But it really doesn't even get into that. Like it's just a really solid story between a boy and a girl, honestly. If you give it a shot, like definitely give it an opportunity if you ain't got nothing to do and you want to just check out a good storied movie.
Wasn't Howl's Moving Castle one of them too?
Yep. Another one
I've seen pieces of that.
I was gonna say like something Toro, a name Toro, I think is one.
Okay, isn't there one called like Ponyo or something?
My Neighbor Totoro is the one you're thinking of.
Okay,
thank you. Yeah, My Neighbor Toro. Yeah,
Totoro.
Yeah.
Okay,
and then Ponyo is another one.
That one I kind of remember too, but the only one I ever saw was the Princess one, and that is a pretty good movie. So
yeah, I mean, after watching that one, like I'm really excited to kind of dive into them in general because I feel like I don't know what to expect.
Yeah.
And I think it's really good. I think at least Spirited Away was really solid. So, I mean, I just Googled it and there's like a website, the GhibliCollection.com, and it literally puts them all
in order.
I don't even know in order, but at least it's telling you of them all.
I think they put out a Studio Ghibli box set at one point too, pretty recently.
I would be down to get that because, like I said the one.
I think it was cheap, so.
Oh, I didn't think it was gonna be. But yeah, it's like I said, if you're into it, give it a shot.
Yeah.
That's it for me. And then I watch Deadpool tomorrow, so I'm stoked about that.
Yeah. I mean, we'll have more to. We'll I think the next time we record, because it'll have been 2 weeks, we can talk a little more in depth about Deadpool if you want to talk about spoiler stuff. But it's literally day one.
Yeah, no, I completely agree.
I haven't seen a single person be like, "Here's my spoiler review." Like, there's been none of that. So people I will say have been very respectful. Like, I went into that movie, I thought for certain at some point this week something about that movie would be spoiled for me. The only thing that was spoiled was something Marvel put out themselves. So, which I guess you can't really count as a spoiler, although it's a thing that I look at and go, I didn't need to know that before going into the movie.
Yeah, I could see that.
But yeah, no, they shocking that has been spoiled for me.
Yeah.
Considering somebody couldn't go 12 hours from when Long Legs came out to spoiling that for me on the internet, so it is what it is. We can kick over to emails. Our first email, this is an interesting one. I think Dan's gonna like this. This involves you. Brett from Miami, Florida. Howdy, crew. Got a strange question for you. I was watching the video of the last episode, and I noticed Dan's awesome Indiana Jones shirt. I know you guys have talked about Indy in the past and your excitement for this new game. My question is twofold. Number one, if this game is a success, do you think that leads to a continuation or even a new movie series? Number two, if you were to recast Indy at this point and make a new movie, who should take on the iconic role? Can it even be done? You know what's funny, and this comment will get a lot of hate, but there was a time, like probably a decade ago, when they were floating the idea of Chris Pratt.
Yep.
And I would have been fine with that.
It was okay at the time.
Where I was like, I could see it.
If we had decided
today, people would hate.
No,
him.
You can't do it now. And he's also too old now.
Yeah.
if you had done it at the time, I think you could have got away with it. I also think that there was a path if Crystal Skull hadn't bombed so hard that it could have been Shia LaBeouf took over the mantle of it, and like you got one more movie where it was like him and Indy was the Sean Connery character, and kind of like a passing the torch kind of a thing. And you could have maybe gotten 3 more out of that. But obviously Crystal Skull killed any of that.
Didn't do very well.
I in terms of like movies right now, I don't think the game has any bearing on what a movie would. A movie
I don't
franchise
think it does either.
I think the game could easily spawn more games, but if we're gonna do that, it's tough because then we have to cram in stuff into the timeline of Indiana Jones. When realistically, if you want to make more indie games, you probably have to forget about that and just try to make good stories, and maybe not keep making him look like him and just keep using Troy Baker until Troy Baker can't do it anymore, I guess, right? But I don't know. The movies are tough because you and I liked Hour of Destiny. Most people didn't. I liked it for what it was.
That was fine. Yeah, I thought it was fine for what it was. Was it perfect?
No, it wasn't. But it was better than Crystal Skull, and it was the end. Like we finally got
I went into that movie expecting to hate it and dread it.
Yes.
And I walked out being like, it was better than I expected it to be.
They did what they could with what they had to make a movie with. If we're gonna restart it now, I think it's an incredibly tall task, and I don't even know if they would bother to do it. To be fair, especially now that it's like Disney's in charge and what's going to make money and what's not.
I think their hands are so full with Star Wars.
Yeah,
and all the
Star Wars
and all the bullshit that goes along with that right now. That I think looking at a property like Indiana Jones, seeing how much money that lost last year, because that movie did terrible.
But the thing is like even other movies like it or not, like Uncharted didn't do well, and we're getting a second one of that, and that's not going to do well.
I enjoyed that one.
I thought Uncharted was fine. It was such a mashup of everything Uncharted that it didn't tell a story of its own.
It's like we can't get like I was thinking back to some of those movies that are like that. I mean, you can go back and think of like the great Brendan Fraser mummy movies and stuff. The other one that I thought of, and like you wouldn't get a movie like this today. Remember that movie Sahara?
I love that movie.
It was a great movie.
Yeah.
But like you don't get
those treasure
that
movies
type of treasure movie. Yeah, it just doesn't.
National Treasure hasn't come back in forever. The TV show was terrible.
Wait, Nicolas Cage said he didn't want to do another one.
I didn't even finish it. I watched like the first 3 episodes because it was
terrible. Yeah.
And then that Tomb Raider movie, bad. Like we can't make this stuff anymore. Now I think we have a Tomb Raider Amazon series coming. Hope maybe that's something. Who knows? But
maybe.
I don't know. Like I guess if you're forcing me to pick someone to be Indiana Jones right now, how about fuck it and it's just your Twisters dude, because what that guy seems to be able to do is be in a movie that's a sequel to something from 30 years ago. Top Gun, Twisters. You said he's charismatic. That's an important part.
He's extremely charismatic in that movie.
He has the right build. He could do it. But I think
I can see it.
He would be. I'm not saying young Indiana Jones like the River Phoenix series. I'm saying like younger Indiana Jones, like early Raiders, like where he's like mid to late 30s is probably what you're shooting for.
Yeah. The sad thing is that was the first thing that came into my mind was like, that Glenn Powell guy seems like he probably could do it. Like he fits the right.
Because most of Indy is he has to be charismatic. He doesn't have to be a great fighter. He doesn't have to be anything other than that. He just has to be intelligent. And so, but if we make a new Indiana Jones movie, it's a weird thing to do because if we start over with a new guy, we have to forget everything that happened before.
That's the hard part.
We can't be afraid to do Nazis again or overlap time periods or anything because you're going to have to. There isn't a big enough time gap for you to keep shoving stuff in between.
And there's to take that now and like if you were going to do something drastic, like let's make it modern day, it wouldn't work.
No, you can't be modern
so
day.
You can't bring it forward.
No, and you can't go earlier than what it was. But the thing about the games that's the problem is like, am I supposed to assume that this game fits into the movie timeline, or am I supposed to ignore that? Because the other ones, like Staff of Kings and Emperor's Tomb, you just ignore. It just, they are their own standalone adventures and you don't think about it. But this one seems to be such a high level effort of it being a movie that should it be part of this? But it shouldn't. I don't know. It's kind of a messy thing to do when your character has a limited time frame of when he could feasibly operate.
Yeah.
Indiana Jones doesn't work in 2020.
No.
Oh no,
you
for
just
sure.
Google everything. So it's tough. But you know what? Fuck it, dude. The Glenn Powell guy. If I had to pick someone right now who's hot in the industry and fits, and fits the physical appearance, then yeah.
And the thing about it was like, I'll say this: when he first showed up the movie, he shows up, he's got his little dorky grin, and I'm just my first interaction, he comes out, I'm like, God damn it, this guy's gonna suck in this movie. And like maybe 20 minutes in, I'm like, this guy's actually fucking great. It's kind of ridiculous, like how good this guy is in this role.
But the other problem is, like, if you wanted him to do it, you'd have to do it now. Because
I agree.
Yeah.
One of my biggest pet peeves in movies is when characters are not cast by someone who's the correct age that could conceivably play them for the next 10 years. And
Andrew Garfield.
That was a problem. But the perfect example of this is a movie that comes out next month that you and I have talked about, and where they somehow cast fucking Kate Blanchett as Lilith in Borderlands.
Yeah. It doesn't make sense.
Zero sense.
It makes no sense.
Lilith should be in her 30s, maybe.
Yeah, it's weird.
This is wrong. If you're trying to turn this into a franchise, you have Kate Blanchett and Kevin Hart as two of your characters.
Yeah,
and that's not gonna work.
No,
because you're not gonna be able to crank these things out as fast as possible. Although, I'm not assuming Borderlands is gonna get a sequel. At this point.
I think it will make a little bit of money, but it's going to make your standard.
You and I
video
talked
game.
about it, where it'll probably make its money back, but not much more. And
it won't make a sequel,
right? So, but it just you make it harder for yourself when you cast people who are in their 40s, 50s to play characters that are 20 years younger. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
But
well, talking on that real quick, would you think maybe a new TV show would work then, like with a brand new, like not necessarily Glenn Powell, but like a new person?
For what? For a TV show for Indiana Jones?
Like if they were to do an Indiana Jones TV show, like maybe like a HBO or Prime or something like that.
Something like that.
I feel like you'd have to write. It depends on how you did it.
Yeah.
If it's a adventure of the week kind of thing, I think that's too many stories to write. I think
that's the problem.
I think it would have to be like a 6-episode episodic thing where it builds.
Gotcha.
Because then
almost like a mini series.
Yeah, because it leaves you room for like twists and the obvious betrayal of whatever character and all that kind of stuff. Basically, making a movie that's broken into 6 episodes.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't even know who I would cast for a TV show for that. Like
I'm just thinking like somebody new and like someone who isn't on the radar. I guess
if you're doing a TV show, somebody new would be fine, because you can allow them to build the character through the build themselves and the character through the TV show. But if you're trying to make a quote unquote blockbuster movie, it would have to be someone with a name already.
What if they just got the guy that played young Han Solo in the Solo movie
to be young? To be young Indiana Jones.
Let's not do that.
Don't do that.
Let's not do that. I often forget that movie exists. It was so bad. I don't like. It's an interesting idea, but like at the end of the day, I think this game will come out, and I think it will be successful. And at the very least, you get another game.
I feel like it would be tough to build hype for a new Indiana Jones movie so soon after the last.
I think you have to wait at least a decade.
It's going to be a while, for sure.
So. And I think when Star Wars has completely run its course, and maybe you're on another downturn for Marvel stuff, because it seems like maybe Deadpool put it in an upswing for a little while, I think that's the time you strike with something with Indiana Jones. But you need to put a lot of time in between this last movie.
Yeah.
So, but yeah. I think at best you get a sequel to this game if the game's successful, which I think the game will be successful.
But I think you'd get a Wolfenstein in between, right?
I want my last Wolfenstein game.
I think you get a Wolfenstein.
I haven't fought Mecha Hitler yet.
Right.
That's what I need to do. So I'm put down that I haven't done that yet. How have we not like seen a single thing about that?
Because they're making
right?
Indiana Jones, and there's a lot of pressure to make Indiana Jones.
I wonder how much they had finished before they were like, all hands on deck, Indy. We're doing that.
I would assume it's storyboarded out, and they're going to reuse a lot of assets. So it's not like
I also feel like it's a thing like if they had started developing it, it's scrapped, and then we'll restart development again. Like they might have a story worked out, but
again, they have a basis to build that game on already. They don't have to build it from scratch like Indiana Jones had to start from nothing.
No, so it's crazy to me that it's
coming.
Realistically, it might be 10 years since the last one.
It's coming, though. It'll be after Indiana Jones. It's next.
They have to finish that story. Yeah. They got to do it for me. Casey from Redacted, our next email. Howdy 572. Really enjoyed the conversation you guys had regarding closing down a GameStop store. I'm an ASL that's currently going through this with the store that I'm at. No, I didn't stick around. I ended up getting a job elsewhere, so I won't be continuing with the company, but I'm still obligated to stay until it's all said and done. I have to say you guys were completely accurate. These customers, even the ones I've seen for years, are just awful now. It is like the minute the store is announced to be closing, it has just been nonstop dumb question after dumb question. At the time of writing this, we only have one more week open, but good grief, I can't wait for this to be completely over.
Yeah, it's so people lose their minds when they find out that this store's closing.
It's
they say, can you cut me a deal on this? It's like, no, this location is closing. It's not the company.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, it would be even worse for GameStop than probably was for you at Game Crazy, because it's like not all GameStops are closing. Right. It's just this one.
Game Crazy was different because it was the beginning of the actual end, where like we were just getting rid of shit. Yeah, it was being phased out. But GameStop's not phasing anything out until he jumps out of the top floor of the building and pulls the golden parachute, and then everything else is left to rot. But yeah, it's. I mean, I'm happy he got out and was going someplace else. I mean, you are obligated to stay if you want that, whatever they're going to give you.
Whatever they're going to give you. I don't know what they've given
ASL. ASL. I think they are eligible for something.
It's not as much as
no.
Yeah.
Well, and even with,
but I think that was the cutoff. I think after that, everybody else nothing.
And even for me, it was there was a cap with how much I could get, and I was at the max cap, but. Yeah, the questions people would ask, man, I can't believe you're closing. Or like we talked about, you get all the people. It's like, it's about time. This company's not long for the world. It's like, I don't care. I really don't care. I'm here because I have to be now. I don't care. Before it was a job where I had to pretend to be nice to you. Now I just don't care.
Yeah, that's the best part.
I have nothing for you. Please leave. The last week was the worst, too, because, like I said, ours was the week before Christmas. So even then, it was like, we didn't have anything. I'd shipped out 90% of stuff. You're coming in here to get what's left, and none of it's on sale. So I don't even know why you're here. I think by the end of it, we made it a point, I think, to only keep, like, the top-selling games and, like, controllers and stuff up until the very end. Because that was stuff we might feasibly sell, but, like, all this used Wii, get it the hell out of here. DS, get all this other crap out of here. But even then, it wasn't stuff people care about because nothing was on sale.
No.
Yeah.
At least not a clearance sale.
Next email we have comes from Terry from Redacted. Hi guys, love the podcast, been listening for a while, first time I've written in. I'm curious how you guys felt when you would ever get resets for different sections of the store. Did it ever bother you how stupid they would be? I'm not sure what it was like for you guys a decade ago, but now it just seems like we are doing resets constantly as this company shoves more and more garbage to us to try and sell. Hey, you got 100 more different plushies and t-shirts you didn't have before. You need to get out pronto to sell. Well, here's a reset. Hope you make the room. It just has become extreme lately.
Pre-collectibles resets weren't that bad.
No.
Because we didn't have to all of a sudden create 3 feet, 6 feet, 12 feet, 15 feet out of nothing.
Yeah. And I think the thing that made it the worst that I remember was when we started doing the collectibles. It's how that shit is shipped to you. It's terrible. you open a box and it's just like they literally are just throwing shit in a box.
Well, there's that, but like in terms of like placement on the wall, part of the problem with our store is it was built. The front of our store was not straight across. It was not perpendicular. It was at an angle. So we had an odd 6-foot section. GameStop people will understand this. We had an odd 6-foot section between our counter and the gate on one side.
Yeah.
But on the other side, that same section was like 12 feet long. So when collectibles first started, they wanted us to make a 6-foot section. And we were like, we have a perfect place. Like, this could just be all collectibles. Nope, can't be here because it has to be on the other wall. But the problem is the other wall is where the angle is an acute angle. So you couldn't put a straight shelf at the end of the wall. So you automatically lost like 2 feet. It's just, I understand resets and I get the company's idea of it. Collectibles are new. They should be at the front of the store. They should be the first thing you see when you walk in. But the first thing you saw when you walked in on that longer wall was not where the collectibles would have been. So it was dead space to us. And, you know, I would have to go through arguments with my DM. Like, I understand what they want. My store is not built the same way. No store is built the same way. But my store especially has a weird wall issue.
Because we're at that angle.
Yes.
Yeah.
We have the space here. Shouldn't it just go here? Well, and then it would be an argument about it. And then finally you convince him. And then by the time I convince him, we get the whole thing set up a month later. Well, it's got to be 9 feet now. What the fuck, dude? Like, come on. They wouldn't send you the right shelves in time.
No.
They wouldn't send you the shelf clip things in time. The header things were old and they wouldn't stay. Remember, like, the paper things I had to put in that, like, angled black thing? Where they got so old because of gravity they would bend. I'd have to tape them in place. So that looked like crap. I didn't mind doing resets. It was something that I liked merchandising and doing stuff, so it was always
there's nothing wrong with that part of it.
I would always try to get it done ahead of time and, you know, schedule like Kyle to be there, so it's like I'm just gonna be ripping this down and moving shit over. But it definitely towards the end when it was like, here's a new rack that sits in the center of the store that we're gonna put collectibles on, but it's nowhere near big enough to keep all the stuff we're gonna send you.
No,
and then here's a clearance rack that's built like shit, or here's a dump bin that's built like shit. Like, it was just always cramming more stuff into the same space, but not being allowed to take stuff down. Or spine stuff, or condense stuff that doesn't sell. Or, you know, run it like it's your business, but it's not.
Yeah.
And then it got worse when we had, like, tech. Remember we had tech stuff? We had to hang that stupid case on the wall, and iPods are on the other side of the counter, so to even show someone the iPod case, you have to walk all the way out and around the counter because we didn't have open counters. That was the dumb part
of it too. Yeah.
Why isn't it just on the other side of the counter where I could easily walk over to it and show people where it is? God, yeah, resets weren't terrible, but it was just the way that they assume that every store is the same. Every store is built exactly the same, and everything can go exactly where you want it. And then they would even have things where it's like, well, if you're this kind of store, you follow tier A or tier B or tier C. My store didn't fit into any of those tiers because it wasn't shaped that way. And I've seen what it looks like now at stores where
it's
Pokemon card sections. Fine. I remember when we first had to build that, but it had to be above shelves. And that didn't make any sense. But now it's like there's remember when we repurposed one of those glass cases to hold open collectible statues, but that had to go at the front of the store when it should have been at the back. And then and then we had those some older EB Games and Funkos and GameStops have that thing where like part of the wall juts out like a foot. We had that kind of in the middle of that big wall. So you had to try to fit stuff up to that point and then past that point, and it never would. It's just they don't give you any freedom to play around with it.
No.
Or at least they didn't used to. And it would be frustrating because it would just be a fight with the DM. Be like, this is how it has to be. Well, if your regional comes in, it's like, what does he fucking know about how stores are supposed to look? He has no clue.
He might come in once every 2 years.
How about he comes in and does a reset and tells me how everything fits in here?
Yeah.
He doesn't have a fucking clue, dude. You know how many metal shells I've had to cut over the years?
Oh, damn.
Too many. Because the thermostat's in a weird fucking place, or the alarm thing, or there's this notch in the wall that doesn't fit. Like, they have no accessories. The biggest problem about accessory resets, put live accessories on the floor. We'll take them off. We'll now put them back. We'll take them all. Put a
that was a
box.
constant
we'll take
battle.
Them all. It's like, no, we never did. I refuse to put live stuff out there because it would just get stolen.
I think it would be the thing where like maybe you might put it out if you knew the DM was coming by, but then would be removed immediately when they left.
Yeah, if he's
not, it would just get stolen.
Yeah, all people need are those.
They'd understand that like you either need the magnet or like if you really want to be creative, somebody come in with a box cutter and just cut it off, take it.
Or if you really want to be creative, those locking pegs can still be ripped off the wall.
Yeah,
they're not secure.
The whole thing. Yeah, so it's just
slot wall's
terrible
cheap.
idea.
You could just bend it straight up and it breaks. Oops.
Terrible idea.
Yeah.
Whoops.
I didn't mind resets in marketing because I did like moving stuff around, but trying to play by the rules was the bitch, and I'm sure it's a hell of a lot worse now with collectibles.
For sure.
Yeah.
Next email comes in from Brandon from Greenfield, Massachusetts. Hi, guys. I want to reach out specifically to Kyle on this. So I just got done listening to the latest podcast, and I actually had to go to your YouTube channel to see it. But I can confirm years ago I used to work at EB Games. The Sanity card you have with your copy of Eternal Darkness was an EB exclusive promotional item. I can't imagine there are a lot of those out there still because we maybe gave out a handful of those and the rest at my store got thrown away at the time. It was also a game that we had maybe half a dozen reserves on. It just wasn't a big seller. But that card is cool as someone who worked there at the time. I didn't even have that card, and it's cool as hell. That is a really good find. So I had also put this out. Yeah, I had also put this out on Reddit because I got to the point. I put out a video. I put it on Reddit. I just wanted to see if anybody else and somebody else on Reddit. I don't think it's the same person, but I don't know if I can confirm that. Had also said
and I went through. So it seems like I went through your thread and I was reading some stuff and I did a little bit more, as much research as I could after that too. And EB Games seems to be the winner. So I think he's right.
It also is not worth $2,000.
No. But it is rare because now you think about it, like, so it was EB Games, not GameStop. So less people, less eyes on it.
EB Games. It's a GameCube game that was in the launch window,
and it did not sell well. Like overall,
it's an M-rated game, which was a bigger deal then to get your hands on than it is today. Mm-hmm. If you were under the age at the time, and then like I said, the GameCube, as we've talked about, like at the time, was not that popular.
Yeah, overall sales number for this game are low. And if they were literally just a promotional thing that would like sit on the counter, then it would have been up to customers to take them or up to employees to remember to give one out when somebody picked up a game. Yeah. And it would have been up to somebody to actually put them on the counter. So there's a lot of factors that go into this being almost non-existent. So it's cool that one survived and Matt found it. And got
it's in great condition too. It's not like it's like bent or anything. It's just
I would assume that yours was probably somebody came in and picked up their pre-order and got that with it
and never thought about it again.
It's like me or you, where I put those things in the case and they just get shelved.
I mean, let me think about how I can say how many like 360 games I can still open up on my shelf that have the receipt.
Yeah, me too.
So, I mean, that's just
I've got Game Crazy receipts in some PS2 games.
That's
good. Those top Matrix printer pages that were this fucking big. Those fucking printers, man. Nightmare printers.
That's good. Next email we have comes to us from Ed from Dodge City, Kansas. Hi, guys. Question. Y'all have talked in the past about games you may like to play around the holidays and stuff, but how about summertime? Any games you play annually or any game traditions when you hit the warm summer months of the year? For me, it's more of it's the dead time of year. So for me, it's not really like, is there a game that I play every year this time of year? No, not really. It's more of my time to catch up on something, or if I have something that I've been putting off, or like right now, there's a good. I don't have anything until I think Space Marine, which is beginning of September. They get either the 6th or the 12th, something like that. So that's why at this time I was like, you know what? The Steam sale hit. I got that copy of Baldur's Gate 3. I was like, this is a great time to dive into some huge game that might take me 2 months, to get through. So, and also like trying to tackle that East game. So, but as far as like something that I would play that like makes me think of summer, not really. It's more of just, it's a great time to catch up because people don't really put games out at this time of the year.
Not a lot.
not right. Like you get obviously you got college football. If that's the right time.
We had Final Fantasy last year.
You're gonna have Madden next year. We had Final Fantasy. Like it's usually like you get like maybe one really big game, usually in June or July, and that's kind of it till end of August, and then that's when the fall season really starts.
This is a good question because I told you I just got all my GameCube stuff back out. I think I'm gonna play Super Mario Sunshine again.
I was gonna say
one that I always think about, and I have played multiple times, like in the summer, just because of it. But
the one game I thought about when I read this email was Super Mario Sunshine because that came out like August of whatever year it came out.
Pretty sure because it was like soon after I started it.
Yeah,
Crazy. I'm pretty sure it was one of the reasons I bought a GameCube.
Because I remember the craziness of the GameCube was at the time it didn't launch with a Mario game, like the only Nintendo system.
Yeah, Luigi
had Luigi's Mansion. So,
but
I liked, but
yeah, and I think that game has become a much.
It has gotten a following now, where at the time people were not happy. So
Mario Sunshine came out in July of 2002. So it came out a little bit before I started there, actually. And that's when I first bought my GameCube. That was a reason because I really wanted to play that game.
That was the first one I thought of, and the other one I randomly thought of. I don't think it came out in the summer, but it's definitely a game that I played during summer months just because would be Wave Race.
Mm-hmm.
It's a 64 one. I didn't play much of the GameCube one.
I played a lot of the GameCube one too.
64, like again, as we talk about a system that is not our favorite, Wave Race is pretty good.
Well,
game.
That's one of the top, 10, 15 games on the system. But I think I'll bust out, Wave Race and Sunshine. Maybe I'll just bust out all any like summer games on my GameCube. I got that beach volleyball game for GameCube, which is actually really good.
Yeah.
I think it's called Beach Strikers, something. I can't remember.
For a long time, the only other like tradition I had, and it's been a couple years since I don't think I've done this since I moved into this house, but Buddy and I would get together and do like probably 2 to 3 back-to-back runs of Resident Evil. That was usually an annual thing, but that usually that either the bug for that usually hits at the end of the year or the beginning of the year. It's like it's never in the summer. So for a long time we would do that on GameCube until that version came out for everything, and then I have it on everything. So at some point I platinumed it, 1000'd it. I think the only thing I didn't get everything on was PC. I should probably do that at some point, but that's the only other thing I think of like that's an annual thing, but it's been a couple of years since I've done that. So but yeah, I can't think of anything else like as far as like an annual tradition in summer. Not really. It's just more of me, okay, I should do this, or it's a good time if I don't have anything that's pressing to look at something that's retro.
Yeah.
That's a good time. Like I remember the last year that I was at GameStop with you, that summer was the summer we hooked up in the back the TV with the cube. Yeah. And then what I was doing that summer, I played through all the Castlevanias on the GBA. But what we did was we had the cube at the store set up with the Game Boy player of the TV, so I played on there, and then I would just play it on my SP.
Yeah,
and I'd take it home, and I just left my GameCube at the store. So that was pre getting that HDMI adapter. So, but we did a lot of that. That was the last time. That was the summer thing because for whatever reason that year the summer there really wasn't anything. Yeah. So that's the other thing I would say. Like summer's a good time for that kind of thing too. If you don't have a big backlog, it's a good time to play something retro.
I'm kind of happy I found my GameCube box full of stuff. And
I mean, hey, if your kid's into Simpsons
and he's
hit and run, he might be into some other cube stuff.
He's interested. He was going through the box, pulling stuff out one by one, and asking me questions about everything. You'll love it, Kyle. He pulled out all the Resident Evil games. And was asking me about it. Said, "Well, you're not those yet." But
not yet. Yeah. Probably another year.
But I have Pokemon Coliseum and XD are in there. He might have fun just like seeing what a Pokemon game from then looked like. And I've got Wave Race. I've got pretty much anything you'd really want for the Cube.
Would he be interested in Metroid, like Prime, or is that a little too?
I think that's probably a little too much for him right now.
A little too much. Okay.
Just because of that. I mean, I say that, but he can play games on the Switch, holding the Switch just fine. So maybe he's fine. Who knows?
I would think if it's the thing that would be cool at that age, like if he's really good at playing on the Switch, going back to a GameCube would probably be really easy.
Yeah, he picked up. He picked up playing Road Rage, no problem.
Okay. Yeah, like that.
He plays a lot of Minecraft, which involves moving and looking at the same time. So he's got that down. So and the GameCube only technically has one analog stick, so you should be fine.
Yeah. No, that's
and that's something he and we can play all this crap together easily too, because
like that, especially like wave race and stuff like that.
Double Dash. I should show him Double Dash because that's.
You should show him.
I like it more than Mario Kart 8.
They probably played Mario Kart 8 a lot.
We played some of
Double
it today.
Dash would.
Yeah.
I was gonna say Double Dash would probably be pretty crazy for him to see.
Yeah, just to see how it works
because of the mechanics. Yeah. That's a good one, actually. Now I think about it, because that probably was my favorite Mario Kart up to 8.
I think it still is, just because I like the mechanics. I like the fact of having 2 people and.
I need to play those
special items.
I really need to turn on my Switch and play those maps.
Oh, yeah. We played some of that today. We played some of those today. What I really like is they added those Mario Kart Tour maps, which they're not.
Yeah.
Which they're not laps. They're driving through a course.
Oh, that's cool.
And yeah, and they just have like a lap marker a third of the way through and 2/3 of the way through.
Okay.
And those are interesting designs for courses.
I need to do that.
Yeah, they're good.
So I need to try my Switch. I haven't tried my Switch in over 6 months.
Well, Zelda's coming, man.
Yeah, it is. I'm excited for that. So,
what about you, Matt?
Our final,
Matt?
Yeah. What about you, Matt?
Anything
I forgot.
Honestly, I don't often play games at all, like repeat play games like that. I can't think of anything that like I go to every year, even depending on the time of the year. You know what I mean? Like.
Not even like a Super Mario World or
no, not really. I just like if I just feel it, I just want to play it, but it's not like a specific time frame reminds me of like a certain game that I'm like, okay, I would definitely want to replay that at that time. I mean, like Super Mario, any Super Mario game is just fun to play through. I really feel like, but there's really nothing that sticks out.
All right, new tradition, man. Yeah. You got to play DOA Extreme Beach Volleyball every summer from now on.
Okay, I'm down. I'll start working on that.
There you go. Our final email comes from Jason from Austin, Texas. Hi, dudes. Love the podcast. I'm curious your thoughts on Grand Theft Auto 6 and if it's possible the game might actually push an agenda or, dare I say, be woke. While I've lately been seeing some more and more videos on YouTube talking about the possibility, I haven't actually seen any concrete evidence to support this. The only thing that does seem logical is that Take-Two, the publisher, was recently quoted on an earnings call being concerned about review bombing and how that could affect the game. Do you think that it's possible that gaming's biggest franchise goes this direction? So the thing that he's referencing, because I looked into it, it's possible. Like did you send me a thing the other day that was like it's probably someone photoshopped it to be an
it was a joke
is my guess. Yes. Yeah. The only thing that I would say that would give me like any cause for alert or concern on GTA 6 is the fact that this will be the first one that neither of the Hauser brothers have touched or have anything to do with. For the first time.
My thought is it would be woke as a joke. I think it would go so far that direction that it goes past what is actually happening. You know what I mean? It turns the whole thing into a parody of itself.
The thing I look at it is like GTA in a sense, and we don't get these as often, but GTA is almost like the equivalent of South Park.
Yes.
Where like it makes fun, it's a satire of everything.
It's a joke about
itself. When it comes out. I can totally see them making fun. If anything, I see them making fun of it. So I can agree with you. Like maybe they do that as a joke.
Yes.
But I would be shocked because it just doesn't. It would seem so off.
I don't think there's any world in which this game can get review bombed to the point where it doesn't make millions of dollars anyway. It's impossible.
No.
5
and
the thing about 5 is like 5. Is it an offensive game? Yes. But is it all a joke? Yes.
Yes.
So, and it doesn't seem to have hurt that game at all.
No.
I don't think there's any reason to change what has been working, except to, like, the trailer is a perfect point of, like, all the social media stuff, all of that stuff. Like, they're going to use all of that as fuel to make parodies and make jokes.
Absolutely. That's the point
of the franchise.
Yeah, for sure.
It's an exaggerated version of reality.
Much like South Park.
Yes, that's where it comes from. And even if it isn't, and even if it does go woke for the story and everybody panics, the online's still going to be whatever people make it to be, and it's still going to generate millions of dollars in shark cards.
If anything, I would also I almost would like to see if it did all of a sudden come out like, oh, Sweet Baby was involved in this game, because it'd be a good litmus test for like, okay, would there actually be that group of people that say, fuck it, I'm not buying this game? GTA 6?
There'd be some people who do it as like a, I refuse to do it no matter what, but it's not going to, you cannot GTA stop Grand Theft Auto, man. You can't.
No. It's a system seller.
Yes.
This will, like, for the people that have held out as long as they have, like Matt, you're a prime example. You don't have a PS5 or a Series X. Like, I assume when GTA 6 is finally out will be the time you would like to have one of those systems to play GTA 6.
You'd at least have more motivation to do it.
You were more motivated.
But in real, like, I was thinking about this. I was thinking about this just today. Like, I really want to play, Mortal Kombat 1.
Yeah.
And I would love to play through college football as well. And then me and my nephew were talking about Hogwarts. But
it's great, yeah.
Essentially, like, I'd have to upgrade, and I really just don't feel like doing that.
Well, the other thing about your scenario is, like, you're so deep in, you should just wait for the pro. Because now we're getting, like, we didn't talk about it before, but there's little trickle things coming out about how the pro is named in source code for certain things, and like things are supposedly soon have to be like pro ready and all this other stuff.
The rumor I read was like they were prepping some sort of September announcement for like a November release.
But you're so
I want to say is what happened with the PS4 Pro.
Yeah.
So.
But realistically, like if it's the price tag is what turns me off of it, because I mean the PS5 is still sitting at what, $499, isn't it?
My thought would be at this point, it comes down. Seems more likely that the Pro is $500 and the regular is $400, because they've never cut the price on the regular, and that's when you do it to clear out old stock.
Because I would be okay with paying $500 for a Pro,
right?
Realistically, like I mean, I definitely wouldn't buy it at launch because I just don't feel like I really stopped buying anything at launch at this point in time because there's something bad's bound to happen into it, but. If they decided to jump down where the PS5 Pro is $500 and the PS5 is regular $400, I would be okay with that. And like that would warrant me going ahead and buying a PS5 Pro because of Grand Theft Auto 6. But
and it took this long for us to finally reach the point where developers are finally saying we're not going to make PS4 versions of stuff. Like college football is a great example that they finally said no. We're not going to do it. And apparently that was leading to a whole bunch of like people that were confused about it. And I have the wrong system. And that's on you, because you know what system you own. And that box says PS5 on it.
Yeah.
So, and like the Xbox One, I could see the argument where I was confused because Xbox One is, then you need to educate yourself about what you own and what you can play. You can't blame the company for saying on the box, this is an Xbox Series X game, and you have a 1X. That's your mistake. It's not their mistake.
Yeah. But yeah, my guess as far as GTA 6 goes, it's just going to continue to be a satire.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure.
All a joke.
So it's always been that way. I don't think they would get away from it. So
let me because it's all a joke. That's their target audience. Right?
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
And then the last point I'll say is, do people buy Grand Theft Auto for the story anymore?
Now, no. Today, the people that are somehow still buying copies of the game are buying it because they want to continue to play online.
Right.
Yeah,
it's not for the story anymore. 5 story is really good. From what
I still think that my prediction of 6 still is that it's not even going to launch with the GTA Online component.
No.
I think that comes later. they won't be ready.
They don't even have to, because there is a current version that still runs and still gets updates.
I think it'll be a thing that comes down the road, like a month or two later.
Or it'll just be something that they transition GTA Online into GTA Online 2.0. And then it works launched out of your game or something.
For sure.
Your game's just your GTA 6 installs a launcher.
I was thinking that, or it's a kind of thing where it's like, well, if you have a copy of GTA 6, then you can get the launcher for free, or there's some sort of voucher thing.
There's a thing in there.
Or if you don't, you can buy a standalone, like, digital copy of GTA Online 2.0 for whatever price they come up with.
Yeah.
There's a lot of different ways it could go.
Yeah. So, but no, I would be shocked. It just doesn't make sense for that game, because given the nature of it being a satire. So
that's if anything, that's the one franchise that could get away with offending people left and right.
Yeah, it's like I said, the analogy of South Park, like they get away with it because they make fun of everything
all the time, everyone.
It's ridiculous. Like, even still today, like, as someone who's caught up to current South Park, like it still surprises me the things that they make fun of. Where I'm like, but nobody cares, because
I just watched that Ozempic episode the other day too. That great. Was hilarious.
That's a great one. So it's somehow still fantastic. So. But as always, send your emails to podcast572@gmail.com. Otherwise, we will be back in another 2 weeks for another edition of the podcast. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, everyone.
Stay safe.